What's going on? What's going on? Just coming out here. My guys just got through trimming up the garden area. So it was a little noisy. I didn't know if I wanted to come on just yet. But here we are. Yep. Let's see here. Got four in here already. What's going on? What's going on? See if I can get set up here. Ooh, got me a little yard crew now that helps me out. On certain days of the week, they were running behind today. So it's about 91 degrees out here right now. We're going to make it do what it do. Um, let's see here. Yep, I think that might do us all right. So it is this gas mask, this gas mask bud. See, I learned so much from watching your content. Thank you for coming in. What's up, John C? John C says hello. Cat truck. What's up, GA Trucker Cat? I ain't seen you here the last few times. Let me wipe off here. I need some makeup. Cause man, it is humid in Georgia. Let me tell you. I think we were 97 today. Georgia zone 8A. Heat index about 104. Still kind of heating up right now, but we're gonna make it work. So let's see who else coming in. Karen Good says I'm growing in containers, but one of my bushes is struggling. But we're gonna talk about it tonight. It'd be cool if I was to have you guys to like set it up to where somebody can come up and show their blueberry bush if they got issues. So maybe we'll do something like that on one of these days. What's those temperatures? Let me get a temperature check in from y'all out there. Let's see what those temperatures look like around the country. We got a few people in here right now. Uh, Becca says it was toasty here in Georgia today. Yes, it was. A little more than toasty. I think it was more like roasty. Look at me. I'm out here shining right now. But it's all good. Glad to see you live, sir. That's Alexandra. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Lawrence says 9A, North Carolina, Florida, NCFL. Help me out on that one now. North Carolina, Florida, 98 feels like 111. Whew. Boy, we were in Europe last year. The temperature on average for the 2 weeks that we were there was 105. Heat index of 115. We won't be going in August again, so we'll probably be going in, matter of fact, we're going in October this year. So Chicago, 75. I need some of that Chicago weather right here in Georgia right about now. Man, I would love 75. Um, it says Lori Thompson says 103 here now. Where is 103? Lori, where is 103? Lawrence says North Central Florida. Hey, and I'm from Florida. I supposed to know that. I'm from Tampa, so I supposed to know that NCFL, North Central Florida. Okay, I'm talking about North Carolina, Florida. that that must be one of them new cities down there. Okay, North Texas. Lori's in North Texas. She said 103. Okay, let's see who else. John C says North Carolina. Expecting rain finally. Temperatures in the 90s to 78 a few hours ago. Feels better. Hey, it's feeling a lot better. I like coming out here right around this time, 7 o'clock hour, because we got some big pine trees in my neighbor's yard here that those are overcast over the garden. So even though we still got some good daylight, the entire garden is shadowed. So I can get out here and record and I don't have the shadows all over the place. So most of the time when you see me my content, it's either early in the morning that I record or late in the evening. So let's see who else we got here. Lawrence says, Little Ocala outside Gainesville. Okay. Barb's 4526 says, I planted my very first blueberry bush by nothing happening at all. Bush by nothing happening at all. Maybe you meant but. I planted my very first blueberry bush, but nothing happened at all. Okay, let's talk about that. Give me some more info on what you're doing with that blueberry bush. You say you planted it or did you put it in a pot? Because if you planted it, then that's a whole nother discussion that we got to have. If you put it in the ground, okay, yeah. Barb says, but I got you. I had to go back and put my slow hat on and kind of catch up to you. But we got that. So is that in the ground, Barb, or is that in a pot? Because we're gonna be talking about our blueberry bushes in these corrugated containers that we have over here. And it is that time of the year that we want to start gearing up for the fall. So what I call is a battery recharge. This whole uh, corrugated system that I have here is set up off the ground. Some of the beds are in the uh, 15 to 17-inch high, but all of them are 48-inch wide. And what I call that is the battery, and that is the 50% peat moss, 25% mini pine bark nuggets, and 25% compost. That's what I call my battery. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be charging the battery, and we do that twice a year. Spring, actually it's late winter, early spring, just as the bushes start to wake up, and then late summer going into fall as the bushes are going to start to taper down. So we charge the battery twice a year, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to show you guys how I charge my battery. The bushes are kind of looking a little bushy today. They're in great health, but because we had those throwback frosts this past year, I didn't prune the way I normally would prune because that frost hit them so hard. I was trying to see if I can overcompensate for maybe some of the damage that was done to the plant as opposed to pruning it off, just allowing it to kind of do what it wants to do. So you can see they're kind of bushy this year. I got my Northland that I did prune just to kind of see any differences in it, but all the other bushes, they were not pruned. I got one little thing on this bless your heart back here I wanted to show you guys, and that's what they call a webworm. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the webworms, but if you have pecan trees, which my neighbor has right here, and I have a pecan tree on the front side of my property, those webworms, they'll basically create like a spider web base like over the top of your leaves, and then they'll basically start hatching inside of that. And that is something that can really do some damage to your blueberry bush. So I have one bush that has that on it, and I left it on there because I just wanted to have something to, like show you guys so we'll be all on the same page. So let me get back down here. What's going on, Gina versus Gina? She says, good evening, everyone. 50 Cal 89 says two variety and tractor supply buckets. Okay, so you're gonna have to get them out of those tractor supply buckets. If I'm not mistaken, I think they come in those little uh, what we call root sleeves. They're really not pots. They're just like those little sleeves. You're gonna definitely have to get those blueberries out of that. They want a wide container as opposed to a tall or a deep container. You want to put them in a wider container. Let's see here, pine bark nuggets. I'm learning so much from growing out the box, and that's user GN59ZD1T. It'll be a lot easier if you just change those acronyms and put a name on there, whether it be garden guy or garden girl or something on there. That way, when you come into the chat, I can get familiar with the names and I can start calling you by name, like Gina versus Gina. We know her from the garden community. GA Trucker, uh, That's a norm, a regular one in here. Uh, Not Woofy. That's another regular that comes into the chat. Appreciate you. And my girl right there, Star Sun Kiss. She's another one. See all those names: Barb's, uh, Deadly Radiation, Deadly Radiation. Wow. I hope not. Uh, yeah. Uh, I'm glad to see Star Sunkissed in here. She's a regular, always leaving a message on the chat. So I don't know how you haven't been in my top 100, because what it does, I have a list of the people who comment the most, and it'll give you a ranking. And then on my community tab, I like to post those at least once a week, those who um, are more active into the chats. So we're gonna have to look into that. That is Star Sunkiss. I really appreciate you coming in. She says, "Good evening, everyone." Keith at Growing Out the Box. She calls me Keith. That's what I'm talking about. That's when you know me, when they call me by my first name, because only on Facebook do people know me as Keith. So if you've been watching the channel long enough, you would know that my name is Keith. Okay. So, Deadly Radiation. She says, but I'm nice. I hope so, because Deadly Radiation, well, I don't want no part of that. Let's see who else is in here. User GN, that's what we're going to say. She says, hello, everyone. He's the man for planting. Thank you. We are the community. That's what I'm going to say, because we be doing too much. And I know the camera's turned backwards, but that's what this says. This is our t-shirt. She got them on growingoutthebox.com. You be doing too much. That's going to be our crew right there. The too much, like Dougie Fresh. Back in the days, he had to Get Fresh crew. We're going to have the do too much crew. I guess it could be something like that, maybe. Samantha says, hey, growing out the box and everyone. What's going on, Samantha? Uh, yeah, that's what user GN says, let's do too much. Those are what they call overachievers where I come from. Everybody who's doing too much, the slackers get pushed to the back of the classroom. All of the ones that are doing too much, those are the ones in the front. They became the doctors, the lawyers, the scientists, and, you know, went on to do great things. GA Trucker Cat, he says, I'm a travel worker, so I haven't been able to catch up on the replays. Gonna redo my blueberries with your mix the end of August and the beginning of September. That's a good time. Fall is the best time. I always say fall is the best time for blueberries. So if you guys really just paying attention, we're gonna walk you back here and just see. I got a whole. Let's see if you can see this stuff that I got here. Turn this camera down. So right here, we got some peat moss in here, and this is all going to be a part of our recharge for what we're doing. We're going to do one garden bed, but we're going to recharge that garden bed. We got some compost in here. That's part of our recharge. We got an empty pot here, and these are 4-gallon containers. I love putting my 1 and 2 year old blueberries in these little 4-gallon containers. They're wide and they're not so deep. And I think I got these from Lowe's. If I'm not mistaken, I got these from Lowe's. But these are 4-gallon containers, and they're very good for 1 and 2 year old blueberry bushes. And that's before you decide to put them in the ground. Now, of course, why do I have this empty blueberry bush container? Because we're going to take some of our pine bark nuggets out of the bed because we want to get to the roots. And that's where we're going to put our recharge mix in. And then, of course, we got our mini pine bark nuggets. And the reason why I got the wheelbarrow is because I wanted to mix everything in the wheelbarrow. And right here, we have a cottonseed meal, and this is also going to be for acidity when we're feeding our blueberries. And we're gonna use a 1-gallon container to do our mix in. And we need 4 parts to create our mix. And of course, our ascorbic acid. I will not grow blueberries without ascorbic acid. And also, I'm gonna walk off the camera for a minute, but I can keep talking while I'm going because we wanna be able to have our magnesium sulfate. Magnesium sulfate. Magnesium sulfate. And of course, my neighbor wants to ride his motorcycle now. But we're gonna keep this thing going. The blueberries are doing extremely well, minus the fact that we didn't get as much as we normally would get. So, let me turn this camera up a little bit. This is Epsom salt. This is one of your best friends when it comes down to your blueberries. Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate. Our blueberries love magnesium. That's what creates that chlorophyll. Now, most of the time we think that greening in the leaves has to do with nitrogen, but it's not. It's the magnesium that creates the chlorophyll, which allows that plant to photosynthesize, and that keeps those leaves from getting the chlorosis, which has the dark veins with the yellowing. So let me come down here. What's going on, Food by Faith? Thank you for coming in. She says, hello, garden family. Welcome to the live. Let's see here. Mike's Chaotic Gardening. What's going on, my brother? Another one of our trusted moderators here. Karen Good is taking notes. Okay, good job, Karen. Mike's Chaotic Gardening says, welcome, neighbors. Please hit that like button. And on the reactions, man, y'all be showing out with these reactions. We had 37,000 reactions on the last live. 37,000 reactions. So every time we're getting a little better, and I think it's probably because I'm starting to become a little more consistent. And y'all can hear my neighbor back there on his motorcycle. So hey, I can't stop that. But again, the things that we're going to be needing. Did I do with my? These are the 3 main things that I use on my blueberries. And down to earth, you can get the down to earth. If you'll look now in the YouTube shopping, and I'm going to go ahead and promote it since I got to go ahead and put these things on and they're going to tag you with it anyway. If you look down into the YouTube shopping, which you don't even have to ask, where do you get this stuff from anymore? It's going to automatically put it down there in the shopping. So for everybody who was asking, where do you get the mini pine bark nuggets from? Where do you get the peat moss from? Where do you get the cottonseed from? Where do you get the Epsom salt from? Where do you get the ascorbic acid from? All of those have been tagged down into the YouTube shopping cart. So all of this stuff you can now have access to. You can have it shipped directly to your house. That is the beautiful part about this new thing that they're doing with the YouTube shopping. So this is going to be what I call my master container. I like to break it down into parts. So this being a 1-gallon container, we're going to do 1 gallon of our mini pine bark nuggets, 1 gallon of our compost, and 2 gallons of our peat moss. And that's going to be our mix. And then what we'll do is we'll take a 1/4 cup of our cottonseed meal. I tell you, boy, when I say every time I go live is something, and we got a whole strip down the backside between our properties, right, that you can ride for up to a mile, but he's gonna stay right there in that little spot and rev that motor. But hey, it is what it is. So now the Epsom salt, let me just touch on the Epsom salt. The Epsom salt should be a part of your your monthly regimen. This is what I do once a month with all of my blueberries. I do a 2-gallon container with 1 tablespoon of the Epsom salt, and I water each blueberry bush with that 2-gallon container once a month. That is what keeps these leaves looking nice and flush. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take you over and I'm gonna let you see what the blueberries look like this time of the year. We don't have any berries on it. All the berries are gone for the season. But this is this bush here is 3 years old. This bush here is 3 years old, and you can see it's about 5 feet tall. 3 years old and already 5 feet tall. So look how beautiful the foliage is on there. You see, you don't have none of the purpling on the leaves, no anthracnose, no septoria. You got the new growth on here, and what I was telling you guys about last time, whenever you start seeing that new growth pop up after your berries have been done, that's time to fertilize. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be fertilizing. I think we're going to pick this bush here. And then we'll go to the next bush. This is a Bless Your Heart. Now, I did spray some of my Mexican sunflower. I did spray some of my Mexican sunflower FPJ on this the other day, and look at how green these leaves are. And I'm gonna just put the camera up to it. Look how dark green these leaves are. That's that Mexican sunflower FPJ. That's what it does to this. That is chlorophyll. That is magnesium that's creating that. That is not nitrogen that's creating that dark color. A lot of people see that green and they automatically think nitrogen is the key to it. Nitrogen is not the key to keeping these blueberry bushes green. Magnesium is. And magnesium is going to keep you from having the chlorosis and also the purpling leaves. The purpling leaves is the anthocyanins in the plant, and basically the plant is trying to recover from chlorosis, so it pushes those anthocyanins to the leaves to protect itself from the sun. So what we do is, in that case, we'll do a root drench of our Epsom salt, which is 2 gallons of dechlorinate dechloramine water. And I'm about to say some things now that somebody gonna disagree with me on. And you know what? That's okay. Because we don't have to always agree, but I'm gonna tell you what I do and why I do it. So let me go over here and get my watering canister, get my 2-gallon watering canister, because we gonna need that. And again, where everybody's shutting down, the garden is still thriving. I mean, everything is still growing. I got some tomato plants that's probably beyond their prime, but everything else is doing extremely well. So this is our 2-gallon container that we're gonna be using today. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill this with some tap water. Yes, sir, tap water. Now, nobody's here to save me today, so I'm on my own. And I already know what I forgot to bring out. I didn't bring my pH meter out here, because what I wanted to do was show you guys, oh my God, that is, ooh, yeah, it is what it is. Somebody let me know, y'all. Let me know. Hey, what's going on, G Mama? Thank you for coming in. Dr. Sev, Money Talks Money. She's in the building. Thank you, Dr. Sev, for coming in. Food by Faith says, hey, 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 at Lee Gamer. And Dr. Sev, User GN says, you are good, brother. Thank you. Okay. So how was that motorcycle sound? Is that too overbearing? Because it is really loud on this end. The noise is worse for you than us. Okay, thank you. And Hadley, I think that's how you say that. Hadley, nope. Nikki31 says nope. Okay. Sandra Jones says nope. Okay. Didn't discover the channel until after I bought a couple of blueberry bushes. And that's A. Hinton said that. Not Wooty, the bike isn't that loud here. Okay, GA Trucker says all good. That is all good. Now, here's something that I wanted, because this, without my pH meter, it's not going to have the impact that it would have. So can y'all give me a pass so I can run inside to grab my pH meter and then I'm going to come back out? Because in order for you to really see what it is that I'm talking about, that's the only way that you're going to really understand the impact that we have when we start talking about rainwater or uh, municipal water, and then also what we do when we add our ascorbic acid. So I'm going to pardon myself for just a minute so I can go in and get my pH meter. So y'all just kind of listen to the motorcycle for a little while. Goodness gracious alive, boy, I tell you. So, but the beautiful part about it is I can walk away from the I can walk away from the camera and I can still talk to you guys. So as soon as I get back, I'm gonna go straight to the screen and we're gonna have a little conversation. So get over here and get my pH meter. A lot of you guys have been buying these pH meters, so that's letting me know that you all are serious about this blueberry thing. So, all right. So we're going back out now. I got the pH meter and I'll be right back in the camera in a second. So one of the things you got to remember too about this pH meter, you want to make sure that you keep that tip submerged in that CLK solution that came with the meter. All right, so we back. All right, so we are back. Now remember, it's tap water here. My tap water on average is going to be from a 7.4 to 8.5. It depends on the temperature. So let me go down here and read. Food by Faith say, I see 101 watching, but only 50 thumbs up. There you go. Y'all put some pressure on that like button. Put some pressure on that like button. That's what I'm talking about. And those reactions. Again, we got 36,000 reactions? We had 36,000 reactions on the last time. So I'm gonna pop this pH meter out. And I usually like to have like a towel out here. If you have one of these pH meters, and I know a lot of you have, because I know I've sold over 300 of these things. And the key to it is they're not one of the most expensive. Are there better quality meters? Absolutely yes. Is it one of the best? No, it's definitely not one of the best. Does it work? Yes, absolutely. But the biggest thing that we have to take into consideration with these particular pH meters, and any pH meter for that matter, is maintenance. Generally, whenever I finish using this, I always clean it off with baby shampoo. I clean that probe off with baby shampoo, because what'll happen is the electrical connectivity that actually has you to read those ions that's in the soil. If you have sediments from the last thing that you left on there, especially when you're doing like the FPJs, which has that sticky stuff on it, you're going to get a false reading. So that's one of the things that I hear a lot of people say, that they get false readings on this. Well, you're probably getting false readings because you're not properly maintaining your pH meter. Every time after use, you need to clean this off with some baby shampoo. It's real mild, or some Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. You just want something that's very mild to clean that probe off, and then get you a microfiber towel, and dry it off. You want to make sure that this is clean every single time in between usage, and you can calibrate it once a week. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna power up, and then we're gonna fill up this water container with our tap water, and we're gonna test the pH. That's the first thing we're gonna do. And while we let that fill up, we're gonna go down here. G Mama says, gotta clean your equipment to keep it functioning properly. That's right. And I mean, I hear so many people say they've bought several different pH meters and they'll work for a little while, and then all of a sudden they'll start reading sporadically. Well, a big part of that is probably because you're not properly maintaining. You gotta make sure these things are clean at all times because they are very sensitive. And even that probe, if you drop it, that glass probe in there, you can throw that off and it'll throw the reading off. So you have to, I baby this thing. And you've seen me with this pH meter now for going on 2 years. Same pH meter, still works. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna let you see what the pH is of my tap water. Let me see here. Now I know that's gonna read backwards. And it's gonna take a minute to settle in because I'm moving around. But I just want you to see the difference. Now that just came out of that water hose now without letting that water hose go, and it's reading a 9.1. So that means something in that water hose is adding contaminants to it to raise that pH. So we're gonna let it run for a while. Well, you know what? I'm gonna show you just how bad that, okay, we're gonna go back to this. This might be a good example. So this reading a 9.0, and that's coming straight out the water hose that's been sitting in that hot sun all day. So that lets you know the chemicals in those water hoses. Now, this is the fix to that, ascorbic acid. This is my go-to, and I've had this one container here for over a year, and it's still halfway full. And I'm gonna show you just how much it takes for that 1 2-gallon container. This is that's not even the right one. Okay. This is a drop, 1/64th of a teaspoon. 1/64th of a teaspoon, a drop. Now this is what I use on regular maintenance, 1/64th of a teaspoon. And I'm gonna show you how the goal is not to drop the pH this time. The goal is just to break the chloramine bond. And what chloramine is in your municipal tap water, that's chlorine and ammonia that's been bonded together. So even if you allow your tap water to sit out overnight, 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, it is not going to remove the chloramine from that tap water. The chlorine will dissipate, but the chlorabene will not. That's a chemical bond that's created from ammonia and chlorine. So what we're doing with this ascorbic acid is we're going to break that bond. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that ammonia and going to convert that ammonia into ammonium. And if anybody knows the favorite nitrogen that your blueberry likes, it's ammonium. So we're taking something that has a negative input into our water system, and we taking it and we turning that positive by taking again that tap water, that chloramine, breaking the bond. And when that bond gets broken, it changes that chlorine it changes the ammonia into ammonium. The ascorbic acid and the chloramine, when they mix together, they change it to ammonium. And that is the favorite nitrogen for your blueberry bush. So that's one reason why we're doing that. Now, what happens to the chlorine? The, the chlorine in the tap water, the chlorine turns to chlorine ions, and the chlorine ions are harmless. The chlorine ion, the chlorine ions are harmless. So simply by adding the ascorbic acid to your tap water, you're neutralizing the chlorine, and then you're changing the chloramine into a useful input that goes into your garden. Now my neighbor on the other side of me is cutting his grass. Woo, boy! What's that? What's the wrestler you said? Woo! that wrestler, I can't call his name. Boy, they trying to do me in today, but the show must go on. So let me see if I can get something to mix that. Once you drop that ascorbic acid uh, in that tap water, it's a automatic. It automatically breaks that bond. So what we want to do is we're going to test the pH again after we just added that drop. Something as simple as a drop. We're going to see if it dropped the pH. Now, the goal is not to drop the pH with that drop that we just add in there. The goal is to break the bond and make that water so we can pour it on our garden without destroying our microbes. And that is what I've been doing this year. Believe it or not, I water my entire garden with these containers all year. I have not used, I think I might have used my city water maybe one or two times. But this is what I've been watering my garden with. That's 6,400 square feet in the total garden, but all of these garden beds have been watered with this 2-gallon container for pretty much the entire year. Now, what's crazy about that is I'm watering less and my plants are looking healthier. Now, what does that tell you about your city water? If you can water less, once you start learning how to break that bond to that chloramine and you're giving your plant water that's conducive to the microbes and the microbes and your bacteria to develop, you're no longer resetting your microbial population because it's extremely difficult to even say that you're going to destroy it. And if we're trying to grow, organically or natural, however you want to call it, it's very difficult to say that you're going to destroy your microbial population, but you do set it back when you use your tap water. So this is what we're doing. We're going to test that pH again now that all right. Now again, we just put a drop in there and that pH only dropped a few points. So we're down now and it's going down as we speak. So we're at an 8.4 now. That's just from that drop. And it's steady going down. So this is why that pH meter is so important. So I'm gonna let this sit for a little while and see how that goes, because I should have let it run out of the water hose for a while. But that just goes to show you the contaminants that's not only in your tap water, but that's also in your water hose when it sits out there in that sun, and then you get those microplastics and nanoplastics that melt down into the water from not only the heat of the sun beating down on that water hose. Now, you see that? We're already down to 7.9 and it's steady going down. Just off of that drop into a 2-gallon container, steady going down, steady going down. Yep. So my point in doing that is now we're gonna add a little bit more to it, because this is what we want to do after we test the pH of our water. Now we can determine how much more we're going to add in order to bring that pH down. So if we do another drop, We're gonna bring that pH down. And now we're talking about something that's conducive to our blueberry bush. That's how, I mean, like I said, I've had this one jug for over a year. Just one drop is all you need. Mix that up a little bit. And then you think about when you're doing your FPJs and all of those ferments themselves are low acidity. So when you add that into your tap water, you're also going to be bringing that pH down. So all of these things that we're doing now actually adds to what we're doing in the garden. So we were just at a 9 a little while ago. We're down to a 7, 7, and it's steady going down. That's probably going to tap down to neutral by the time we're finished. So that's just 2 drops into this 2-gallon container. And now that takes that water down to neutral. So we're no longer alkaline, we're neutral. Just those 2 drops. We went from a 9 and we're at a 7.2 now. And it's steady dropping. 7.1, 7.0. Okay, 7.1, 7.0. Just that simple. Now you're moving around because I'm moving around now. But we went from a 9 and we dropped down 2 points. Now, you might say 2 points, but that's exponential. So we're talking about that's 10 times that 7. So that's 10 times more acidic or more acidic when we come from that 9. If we go down 2, that's 10 times 100. That's 200% more acidic. So every time you do that, you multiply that by 10. That's exponential. So going from a 9 to a 7, that's 200% less less acidic is what we're talking about. And we're going to let that sit for a little while. Mix that up. Now, with our tap water, now my peat moss is somewhat moist. Yeah, I think it's moist enough to where we can get a reading. Now, for those who don't think peat moss is acidic, you said, baby, lit up. That's a 3.5, 3.6. That's what that peat moss is. So that's what we're charging this blueberry mix with. This is peat moss that's just been sitting out and it's already moist. And it's a 3.5. So for anybody that tells you peat moss is not acidic, 3.5. Let's see what our compost is. Now, this is black cow compost. We just checking all of this stuff to see what the pH is on the black cow. Should be somewhere around neutral. Okay, 7.1, 7.1, 7.2. That's about neutral. So all of these things are falling right in the realms of where we should be at. 7.2 locked in. So that's slightly alkaline, but that's what you're going to get out of your compost. For those who didn't know, your compost is most of the time going to fall in that neutral to slightly alkaline. So that's where your compost in. But when you mix those two together, that peat moss is going to dominate that compost. So let me go back down here to the chat. Let's see here. Food by Face at Star Planner. Many vegetables need the same pH level. Blueberries have a lower one. Yes. Blueberries, unlike any other plant in your garden, requires a lower pH. Not many other plants will survive in the soil with blueberries. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example of that. I'm gonna show you my blueberry bush beds and why there are no weeds or many weeds. You see that? Not a lot of weeds in there. That's because most of the weeds that pop up in our garden require a neutral pH. The blueberry bush is so acidic that it's not going to take many weeds. Some weeds will pop up in there, but for the most part, you're going to have less weed pressure. So if you got a lot of weeds growing up around your blueberry bush, that's a telltale sign for you to check your pH, because not a lot of garden plants, not a lot of weeds are going to want to grow in your blueberry bush bed. And I'm gonna let you guys see the condition of my blueberry bushes up close. This is a 4-year-old bush here, and she's right at 5 feet tall. That's about as tall as she's gonna get. That's a hello darling. She's about 5 feet tall and 5 feet wide. That's a hello darling there. Right here is our sweetheart, and our sweetheart has really taken off. She's probably about 6 feet tall now. She's a four-year-old blueberry bush. This is what these bushes will do when you give them the correct medium to grow in. She's 4 years old, and you're seeing up close and personal what she looks like. And this time of year, you see that red, those red tips there? That's where your berries are gonna be. That's where your berries are gonna start shooting out from. That's why it's time now to start getting her ready to shut down for the winter. And this is my sweet. This is, what is this? This is Northland, and you can see the Northland is already starting to put on berries. You see those buds right there? So she's already starting to put on berries. This is the Northland here, and right here, pink lemonade. And I'm showing you this so you can see the condition of the bushes this time of year. Look at how green the leaves are. That is not nitrogen that's doing that. This is another hello darling, new growth, beautiful new growth that's telling you it's time to feed, time to recharge. You go right here. This is another bless your heart. Look at the color. These are all my blueberry bushes that are, and this bush is only 3 years old. This bush is 6 feet tall and 3 years old. That's a bless your heart. So the rabbit eyes are going to get larger. That's another sweetheart here. And she's about 5 feet tall, about 4 feet wide. That's the characteristics that you're going to have with her. And there is another bless your heart on the end that's over 6 feet tall. So the reason why I'm showing you guys that is so that you see the condition of the blueberry bushes in the way that I grow them and the conditions that they are. Even with the summers being like it is, the high 90s, the bushes are still doing well. We can go down here and we could test our soil. Matter of fact, let's see here. We're gonna do that. That's something that we didn't do. We're gonna show you. Let me see, find one that we can actually see in. Now, I should have my tip on here because with my pH meter, it comes with a metal tip that allows you to divvy into the soil. But you see that? We're gonna go down to, see how much pine bark, mini pine bark on top of that? Gotta protect those roots. And I'm gonna show you those roots for people who say, you see how close they are to the top? They look like little spider webs. That's what the roots look like. The roots are terrible at pulling nutrients. So what they require is Ericoid mycorrhiza. That is the reason why we want to make sure that we keep this thing acidic, because Ericoid mycorrhiza will not survive in a pH high. So let's see if we can read. That's a 4.5. That's a 4.5. This is the same blueberry planter that's been here for almost 5 years. A 4.5. This mix is still doing its job. Still doing its job. That's a 4.5. Going on 5 years, this plant has been in this soil. We're gonna go over here to another one of our bushes. And we're gonna push back the peat moss. We're gonna push back the pine nuggets on here. Same thing. Oh, we got some ants in here. Oh boy. But we're gonna still go down here. If we can get a reading. Yeah, I need that divot. That's actually low, a 4.0. So that's actually lower than it should be. So that's telling you right there, this mix that I'm telling you about, this mix that we're using here, I can go down to each one of my beds. And of course I need to clean this probe off. So I'm really cheating myself because I'm not gonna get an accurate reading because I still got the soil from the last bush on there. But this is another bush. And you see how moist that is? Look at that, those fibrous roots. You really get to see them. As soon as you put them, they're on top. This is why it's important. You see that? Looks like spider webs. This is why it's extremely important to keep a lot of mulch on the top of those blueberry bushes. If you're not mulching your bush, you're not doing it any service. And look how moist that soil is up under there. And you can see even where the roots are starting to dig into that mulch. You can see how that crumbles apart. That's going to be part of the food that we're going to be adding back in. So we're going to go back down here and we're going to put this one in. And we're at a 4.5 here. So that's 3 different bushes. We went from a 4.6, I think, to a 4.0, back to a 4.5. And these bushes here have been here almost 5 years. This will be the 5th year for these bushes. So this just goes to show you this mix works. And I call it a recharge, is what we call it. That mix is the battery, and what we're doing right here is the recharge. So let's see here, let's go over here and read some of the chat. G Mama says, be careful. Lawrence says, the 2 with the yellow leaves have weeds constantly. You helped me a lot with this information on pH. Okay, so Lawrence is saying that he has one with a few weeds in it. Well, make sure that you keep checking that pH, because if you're getting a lot of weeds around your blueberry bush, then chances are that pH is creeping up, because most of your garden weeds are not going to want to live inside of your blueberry bush bed. They're just not conducive for it. In the same way that low pH is just right for, let's say, allowing the blueberry bush to take up that magnesium and iron, that iron and magnesium also is locked out for other plants. So where it reverses itself for the terms of the average plant. If you were to put, let's say, a tomato in that blueberry bush mix, that tomato is not going to be able to take up the magnesium or the iron, so you're going to start getting chlorosis in the tomato in that same mix. Now, if you take the blueberry bush and you put it over into your tomato mix, you're going to get an opposite reaction, which is going to be the blueberry bush cannot live in the same soil with the tomato plant, even though tomatoes like it slightly acidic. Your raspberries and your blackberries, they like it slightly acidic. So where your blueberries are going to be a 4.5 to a 5.5, that 5.5 to a 6.5, that's where your blueberries and your raspberries are going to live at. And that's that sweet spot between that. So where I do 50% peat moss, 25% mini pine bark nuggets, and 25% compost. Now here's something here that I've had some people tell me that this doesn't. Now I'm about to this pine bark mulch here, mini pine bark nuggets. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of that, put it in a pot here. It's a little moist. Might not be moist enough to get an accurate reading. But for people who told me mini pine bark nuggets are not acidic. So we're going to put this in our water here. I'm going to raise that pH back up again. Rinse that probe off. Okay. So our probe now, just in ambient temperature, is at a 5.7. Now I want to see if we can get a reading on this pine bark mulch. Now that's a 4.7. Who said pine bark mulch is not acidic? This is mini pine bark nuggets. This is why we put that in there. We put that in there for aeration, and also because it breaks down over the course of time and becomes part of that charge that we're talking about putting back into our garden bed. So here is that mix that we're talking about. Let me sit this somewhere because I don't want to step on that. All right. So now that's our pine bark mulch. But here's what we're not going to do. That's not going in our mix. What is going in our mix, let me see here, one of these things that don't have ants in it. We're going to get a gallon. We're going to get a gallon of the pine bark mulch that's already in our garden bed. So we're going to go right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get just this 1 gallon. And our feeder roots are on the edge. This is where we want to fertilize. We want to fertilize going to the outside of the plant. So where this corrugated planter is, we want the last 6 inches or so to where we're going to be putting our mix. So we're going to take a gallon of this. And this is our recharge. This is what I want you guys to do. This is a gallon. This is a gallon of our already breaking down mini pine bark nuggets. Now, why are we taking the pine bark nuggets from the bed as opposed to fresh mini pine bark nuggets? We're going to go down to the chat and we're going to let the chat talk about that. So why are we taking mini pine bark nuggets from the garden bed as opposed to our fresh mini pine bark nuggets? Now, if you don't have aged pine bark nuggets, that's fine to go down to your bag and to get it. But when we start talking about recharging our mix, we want to go down and take those pine bark nuggets from the garden bed. And there's a reason why we're doing that. I'm going to see if anybody in the chat knows the reason why we're taking these pine bark nuggets as opposed to the brand new ones. And these are going to go in our mix that's going to go back into the garden bed. So why are we using the older pine bark nuggets? Let's see here. Keeps birds away from the netting. I think y'all got a whole nother conversation. Not Wooty say he has to go, but it's nice hanging out with y'all. Thanks. Okay, I saw something about using tuitage instead of netting for the berries to ripen. Okay. There you go. Who that down there at the bottom says that? DS, is that DS Livonia, however that is, it's slightly composted. That's right. It's slightly composted. And the analytic, who's that? The analytic gardener also has it. Mycorrhiza Association already started. Not mycorrhiza, but uh, what do you call ericaceous, ericaceous mycorrhiza. Ericoid is the word I'm looking for. Ericoid mycorrhiza. That's right. Ericoid mycorrhiza has already started breaking these down. So what we want is our indigenous microorganisms that are already in that bed, that's already started breaking this stuff down. And I want you to see just how simple you see how those just crumble? They're already breaking down. That's going to become soil in the next mix. You see how that just crumbles? That's what we want. That just crumbles. The ericoid mycorrhiza is already breaking that down. This is not breaking down because it's old. It's breaking down because the mycorrhiza in the soil is breaking this down. That's what allows your blueberry bush to feed. So that's the first thing. We got 1 gallon going into our mix. That's 25%. And remember, we're going to do 4 of these, and that's going to be our mix. So with our compost, we're going to do 1 of these of compost, and that's 25% as well. I'm going to dig down up in this thing. Ugh. Doesn't have to be a science, but 25% of our compost. So now we're already 50% of our mix. That's 25% of our compost, 25% of our mini pine bark nuggets. This is 50% of our mix, so which is going to be 2 of these. That's 1. And this is our 2, which is 50%. And then we go down here, we're going to get our 1/4 cup. And we're going to do a 1/4 cup of our cottonseed meal. It's a 1/4 cup of our cottonseed meal. And this is, again, this is our blueberry mix recharge is what I call this. This is basically your battery charger. The soil is your battery. This is your battery charger. And you're going to give that soil a boost. And that's the reason why we're calling this our battery charger. And then we just mix all of this together. Gotta get those hands dirty. And this is what that mix looks like. Nice and rich. Now, that mix that I just showed you, which again, these are 4 gallons. So we got 1 cup of our aged, this is 1 gallon of our aged pine bark mini nuggets, 1 gallon of our compost, 2 gallons of our 2 gallons of our peat moss. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna check the pH on this. I'll rinse this off. Took that back up to about a 6.5. And then we're gonna come back. You see that pH there is a 6.0 right now. Woo, woo, that's really low. So they went down to, okay, we might come back up. So we're at a 4.0 right now. So this mix right now is a 4 point, it's a 4.1. So we probably end up, if we let this sit in here and settle for a little while, it'll probably push back up to that 4.2. And that's perfectly fine. That's fine because again, this is not your entire mix. This is going back on the top. Now, what we do here, we're gonna go back over here to that garden bed. And what we're gonna do, let's see here. See if I can get that camera down to where you can see exactly what I'm doing down here. There we go. Yep. Move that over a little bit. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our mini pine bark nuggets that's already in the bed, and we want at least 6 inches going all the way around the perimeter. Your feeder roots are gonna be towards the edge, and you wanna go all the way around the perimeter. Brush that back, because that's where that mix that we just made, that recharge. Look at all those roots all up on the top. You want to brush it back. Do not dig into your soil because your roots are on the top. You want to keep that away from your crown. That's why you see we got that crown in our own little space right there. But we didn't go all the way around to move that back because those feeder roots are on the edge. And we do this twice a year. We do it late winter, early spring, and late summer, early fall, which is this time of the year right now. We got ants in this one too, but that's fine. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring our mix over, and that's all we need for that recharge is what we just created. And remember, these are in our 48-inch planters that we have here. And then we're gonna go around the edge of that, the entire bed. Blueberry bushes do not translocate nutrients. And when I mean translocate the nutrients, if you fertilize one side of the plant, one side of the plant's gonna get fertilized, the other side is not. It does not translocate nutrients. Same thing goes for water. If you're watering one side of your blueberry bush more, one side of your blueberry bush is gonna get more of the nutrients. See how beautiful that look, dark and rich. You want to put that entire mix on there because we're building this back up every year. That's going to drop. And that's when you're doing these 48-inch planters. You do the same thing with the same mix on our pots. And we do the same thing. Remove all the mulch from the top. And this is basically how we recharge. All right. And then we go ahead and just, we don't want to scratch it in or nothing. We want that to be the new top layer for those roots. All the way to the edge, because again, your feeder roots are going to go towards the edge of the bush. In the real world, they would be closer to your drip line. Nice and smooth. And then what we do, we just spread that native, that bark back over it. That's what we're gonna do. Spread that back over it, because that's what's gonna keep that soil activated, because those indigenous microorganisms are already in this mix. Now, we're not finished. We're gonna take our mini pine bark nuggets and we're gonna add a fresh layer of mini pine bark nuggets. Remember, we're getting ready for winter time. So she needs to have those roots very well protected. Doesn't matter how much you put in there, because over the course of the year, that ericoid mycorrhiza is going to break that down. And we're going to repeat the process in late winter, early spring. And then we go in and we spread that out. And she is happy. And see, that's why we got this to the top of the bed now. See how we were lower before? Take that away from the crown. We take it all the way out to the edge. There we go. Look how beautiful that looks. Yes, indeed. See how beautiful that looks. Brand new fresh mix. So now what we do, this the fiesta, it's the nice little finishing touch that we have here. See if we can keep our, get this out the ground, because I have been unstepped on this thing. Let me see where I can move it to. Now, this little baby right here, Epsom salt, this is how we're gonna water her in. Remember, we've already put our ascorbic acid in our water that breaks the chloramine bond. And all we need is a teaspoon to a gallon of that water, of our Epsom salt. That's magnesium sulfate. Your blueberry bush loves the magnesium. That's what helps with that chlorophyll, keeps those leaves, that dark color you see on those leaves, that's what does that. That is not nitrogen doing that. You do this once a month, but you also do it as you do your recharge. And we're gonna get back down to the chat in a minute and we're gonna talk about it. And let's see here. And you want to just soak that up good. Now, the best time to do this recharge is after a rain, because you want that soil to already be moist. And then we're gonna go in and we're gonna wet that in really good. And that's that magnesium sulfate that we're putting down in there. We want to water that in really good. That's a 2-gallon container. That's all you need. And this is what we call a blueberry bush soil recharge. That soil has been recharged. And we're actually right on time now because the sun's going down. Let's see here, we're gonna go down here and get a really good look at it. And look how beautiful that soil looks now. That's a blueberry bush soil recharge. That is how we do it. And the results is what you see right here. Those are the results. That beautiful dark green foliage, and I can't say it enough times, it is not nitrogen. That that cottonseed meal, which you should be able to see it now on the right. Yeah, there you go. So the cottonseed meal is a 611. That's 6% nitrogen, 1% phosphorus, and 1% potassium. That is all is needed into that blueberry bush. You don't need anything else. This alone will carry you through the season. This alone will carry you through the season. And once a month, we go back and we do a root drench with our Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate. That is all I do to my blueberry bushes, and they take care of me good. I just want to come up here again and let's see how rich these colors are. How beautiful those colors are on them. It's going to keep down disease. It's going to give you the plump berries that you need. It's going to give you the new growth that you need. And what you don't see is chlorosis anywhere on any of these bushes. So this is something that I really pride myself on, these blueberries. And this thing has really worked out. So that's one down and many more to go. But that's part of the whole process, man. It's a labor of love. And I've gone to love these blueberries so much. And again, this is let me turn that camera around so you can really see what this thing is. And I'll show it to you from the other side. Ascorbic acid. It's 100% pure vitamin C. 100% pure vitamin C. This thing here will last you at least a year. And I'm not promoting this brand. This is not a sponsored video. This is just showing you what it is that I use on my blueberry bushes, and I'm showing you what the results are. This is the result of what my blueberry bushes look like. You guys see them for the last few years that I've been growing them, and they have been more consistent than anything that you want to realize. This is all my blueberry bushes. Look at how beautiful they are. Look how huge they are. This side, these are 4 years old, already at their maturity stage. These are 3 years old. Look how beautiful those are. They're catching up to those. 3 years old, 4 years old. I mean, and I've had some people say that their bush is over 6 years old and not even half the size of the ones that I got in pots. So let's go over here, sit down, and y'all know how we do it on Lights Out Live. We're gonna sit down and chop it up now. So go over here, look at the raspberries. Those side shoots that we're talking about. Look at them babies jumping off of here now. This is where those berries are gonna be at next season. It's those raspberries that we just pruned. We tipped, and look at those side shoots kicking off. Look at all that growth that we've had since we tipped these, and that hasn't even been a month. Look at these here. These are already in that 18-inch range. Now, that was just the first part of the pruning for our raspberries. Look at this one here. All this new growth on our raspberries. Again, look how deep, rich that green is. It's that magnesium sulfate. Again, I use that Epsom salt on these as well. Now, here we'll be talking about over here. We're gonna come over here, turn our lights on. Yep, I'm gonna turn our lights on, and then we're gonna chop it up for a while. Okay. And and then we'll start answering some questions if you guys have any. I think that was pretty self-explanatory, but if you guys got any questions, all right. Got to make sure my little Tinkerbell lights are in the picture, and then I don't want those in. So that's where we at right there. All right. So, all right, now y'all can't be putting a whole a whole book in there trying to, because I'm trying to get questions in. But Mary McGillis asked a question. She says, fertilizing of the blueberry bushes is to do the 1 month with Epsom salt. Spring and fall, redo the soil maintenance with the peat moss, pine bark, mini nuggets, compost, and the cottonseed meal, right? You are absolutely correct. That is what we call our soil recharge. That's our blueberry bush soil recharge. Let's see if I can get this light right. I'm gonna play with this light a little bit, but I think we should be good with the way that light is. Y'all let me know how that lighting is. And then Lori Thompson says, was 1 tablespoon or was it 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon per gallon for the Epsom salt? With the Epsom salt, it's 1 teaspoon per gallon. So 1 tablespoon for a 2 gallon container. And I use a 2 gallon watering container. And that 2 gallon watering container, you go around the entire bed and you water the entire 2 gallons in that watering bed. And that is pretty much it. Um, Miss Miss Yvonne says, "Hey G Mom," she's speaking. Um, Thank you so much, Mary McGillis. McGillis dropped a little something in the house. I appreciate that, Mary. I thank you so much. Um, let's see here. G Mama Groves says, "Welcome into the Lights Out Live, neighbors. Tapping that like button shows help support for the channel." That's right. And we got again 36,000 reactions. Y'all know how we do it. I see y'all lighting it up tonight. 36,000 reactions. That's what that is right there. So y'all go over there and light those reactions up because that's what helps share the live out. And I think it was pretty good. A quiet cook says, "Is the 100 as effective as the hearts?" Yes, long as it's a reaction. That's right. Yep, long as it's a reaction. Um, Food by Faith at Mary McGillis '02. You're awesome. H was a Hinton. A Hinton says, "Growing out the box after dark." We call this Lights Out Live. That's what it is. We kind of the whole plan was, and once I get my team together, the vision for what I was trying to do with the Lights Out Live is we basically do some real life gardening around the garden, just like what we just did. I do some hands on right there on the spot gardening, and then you turn around as the lights start to go out. That's why we call it Lights Out Live. That's when we sit down and we talk about what it is that we just did in the garden. So once I get me a little team together, I'll have somebody following me around with the camera so I don't have to be turning the camera back and forth around. And then I got my earbuds in so I'll be able to hear the moderator. I want to have an audio moderator on the chat. So the audio moderator will be talking to me and reading your chats, and I'll be able to respond in real time while I'm actually working. So this is something that I want to do for the community, and no one else is doing this. I'm the first person that's doing this. So my son just came out here. He's tinkering with the lights a little bit and seeing if he can get me a little better little setup with the lights. Y'all let me know how that looks. Is that any difference? Let me know about the lighting. Y'all let me know about the lighting. Let's see here. Ike Doc 237 says, perfect timing on the video. I planted my potted blueberries into these 4-gallon, 4-foot beds in the spring. Going to recharge them this week. Thanks for the info. Yes, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And that's the phrase that I like to hear, and that is recharge. That is what we're calling this. We're calling this our blueberry bush recharge. And you heard it here on Growing Out the Box. Recharge, not fertilization, but our blueberry bush fertilization recharge. It's a soil recharge that 50% peat moss, 25% mini pine bark nuggets, 25%. That's my young man right there, my son. He out here trying to fix my lights. So I appreciate that. Do you purchase blueberries now? Star Plant asks, do you purchase blueberries? Oh, do you purchase? This is a good time of the season. Well, I like the light behind me, Zay, because it lights up my backdrop. Yeah, that's what's making it flicker. Hmm. Okay, I see it. So that means I need to probably set up those lights to the back. So that's something we could work on. Okay. Yeah, that's my young man. He helping me out tonight with the lighting. He's looking from the inside and seeing where the adjustments can be made. That's the technical side of what it is that I'm doing around here. So not a whole lot I can do without that fella right there. And he's going to flight school in January. So that's going to be a major part of my hey man, we say we try to raise them to the point to where they need us, but then at a point in life, I think we get to a point where we start needing our kids a little more than they need us. And I want him to go off and do his thing with the airline and that pilot school. But I am definitely going to miss that fella. I mean, he is for sure very helpful around here. Anyone here foliar spray? That thousand is that the thousand I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but he asked, does anybody foliar spray? I foliar spray my blueberry bushes as well. I foliar spray them with liquid whey. Matter of fact, I should have asked the chat. Spell check is the devil. Yeah. So let's see if I can read the chat. Sandra Jones says, can I use ascorbic acid for my cherry trees? You can, I'll just say this. Ascorbic acid, if you want to talk about watering your garden less and keeping those microbes at peak population, I'd say I can count on one hand this year that I've watered my garden with the water hose. One hand. I can count on one hand that I've watered my garden with a water hose. I water it with those canisters, and every time I do those canisters, I put that drop of ascorbic acid in it. It breaks the bond of that chlorine. Now, here's something that's going to sound really crazy, but I want you guys to just do your homework, research it. If you are not having the correct drop station for your rainwater, this ascorbic acid that we're doing is better than the rainwater. And I'm saying that because a lot of times, most of us, and I include myself, and I had to discover this the hard way, and this is the reason why I can say this to you, that rainwater that's coming off of our roof is coming down and it's going to be alkaline when it comes down because the asphalt that's on our roof is going to contaminate your rainwater. And then you're going to get all the contaminants that's in the air. So you have wild microbes, you have wild yeast that's in the air. And then when you have that rainwater sitting in that barrel for over 48 hours, it loses its benefit. It becomes anaerobic. So it's a lot of nuances into the things that we've been doing around the garden, and we're thinking that we're doing it for the better, but really it's not for the better. Not to say that it's hurting the garden, but it's not for the better, because again, When you're allowing that water to sit in those rain barrels and it's just stagnant, that water is coming anaerobic. And then you're going to start getting other bacteria starting to form in that rainwater. With the ascorbic acid, I can take my tap water, which I know is as clean as we could possibly get coming out, put that ascorbic acid into that that tap water, remove the chlorine and chloramine, and I got not just good water, I got water that's been dechlorinated, dechloramined, and that dechloramine turns that chlorine and ammonia bond, breaks it apart, takes the ammonia, which you don't want to put in your plant on your plants, and we are when we do it in our tap water, but it takes that ammonia and turns it to ammonium. Your blueberry bushes love ammonium. So we're taking a negative and we're turning it to a positive. The chlorine or the chloride that's in that water, that becomes chloride ions or chloride ions, which is harmless. So you basically taking your tap water and you turn it into something beneficial for your garden. Not just water, it's actually becoming a fertilizer because that ascorbic acid and that chloramine creates a chemical reaction which turns that ammonia into ammonium. That is nitrogen that's available to your blueberry bushes, and that's the nitrogen that your blueberry bushes love. Food by Faith says that growing out the box, a subscriber asked, let's see here, oh, lost my chat. I'm trying to get okay. I'm going to read Food by Faith thing. She said a subscriber asked earlier if they could use the vitamin C tablets in vitamin C tablets instead of buying ascorbic acid. Yeah, because that's all ascorbic acid is. Vitamin C tablets is ascorbic acid. They're the same. Now, you know me, doing too much. I'm always going to be doing too much. So once I started using the ascorbic acid and I start seeing the vitamin C, because that's what that is, ascorbic acid is 100% vitamin C powder. So yes, you can absolutely use vitamin C tablets. But here's the thing. There's what's it called, Rigosa? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Rigosa or Rigosa Rose. Am I saying that right? Y'all let me know if I'm saying that right. Rigosa Rose. Y'all let me know before I even move forward. I use urine water mix before flower buds to show up. Then I switch to a high pH. You use urine water on your blueberry bushes? No, I wouldn't do that. No, not on my blueberry bushes. I've used that to do my compost, but I wouldn't put the urea, because that's what it is. It's urea, but it's too much salt. Blueberry bushes hate salt. Your urine has salt in it, lots of salt. So no, I wouldn't put urine on my blueberry bush. Now I do put urine in my compost because the compost is going to be converted by the mesophilic and then your thermophilic bacteria. But I would not put urine, no, not on my blueberry bushes. Again, your urine has lots of salt in it. Just do your homework. Lots of salt. Blueberry bushes hate salt. They hate salt. So congratulations with your son. Yeah, I'm proud of the little fella. Like I said, I hate the fact that he's, but they have to grow up. That's what he wants to do. He's the mountain man. He's the traveler. He likes to go do and be things that, hey man, to go fly your wings. You know what I mean? Go fly, little birdie, fly. Mike's Chaotic Gardening says vitamin C tablets have salt. Check the ingredients. Okay, so there you go. Mike's Chaotic Garden is putting y'all up on something. Vitamin C tablets have salt. I mean, I think we all have salt, if I'm not mistaken. I think they all have salt, but it's the amount of salt that matters because, I mean, of course, your uh, Epsom salt has sulfur in it, sulfur. So we're going to have the same thing. Uh, It's just me says I'm not eating pea blueberries. You'd be surprised at what you getting when you get that stuff out the shop. That's why y'all getting that diarrhea right now from them that lettuce everybody's eating. Man, I love my little Tinkerbell lights. I love my little Tinkerbells. Yeah, always say that. That guy says I will taste like blueberries. So you want pure ascorbic acid. That's what I use, pure ascorbic acid. And going back to my point, after I started using the ascorbic acid in my water, I started noticing that I'm watering less, my plants are staying green longer, less insect pressure. I mean, it's just a healthier garden because, of course, we're not resetting our microbes. Because every time we use that tap water, while you're not going to destroy your microbes in your soil 100%, but you do set them back. The chlorine and chloramine in your tap water is designed to do exactly that, and that is to destroy the very things that we are trying to create in our gardens because that's what we need in our soils in order to feed our plants. The cottonseed meal. The cottonseed meal is not going to get fed to the blueberry bush. The Aerocoid mycorrhiza that's in that mix is going to break that cottonseed meal down and they're going to feed it to the blueberry bush. The Aerocoid mycorrhiza is going to extend those roots out, that hyphae, go down and tap down into that subsoil, which all of my corrugated planters don't have a bottom on it. And they're going to go down and they're going to go and get that moisture from deep down inside and bring that moisture back up. And with that mix that we have there with that cottonseed meal and that once a month of our Epsom salt, which is our magnesium sulfate, your blueberry bushes are going to be as happy as they ever will. That Epsom salt on the roots, we don't want to really do it on the leaves unless we're actually seeing a deficiency. And the thing with blueberry bushes have a waxy cuticle on the top. So if anytime you're doing your foliar feeds, which I do with my liquid whey, you always want to spray the undersides of your leaves. Spraying the top of your leaves is not going to help your blueberry bush. You want to spray the undersides of your leaves. For that matter, any plant that's in your garden, and I'm just looking at this, man, I'm looking at how deep, rich this thing is right here. I'm going to turn this camera real quick. This is a raspberry leaf. Isn't that beautiful? A dark green there. But I just fertilized them or fed them the other day. And again, I gave them 2 gallons of that Epsom salt after I put in my cottonseed meal. But the mix is slightly different here. It's only 20% of our peat moss, then with 35% of our compost and 35% of our mini pine bark nuggets. That's the mix for our raspberries and our blackberries because the raspberries and blackberries require slightly higher. They're 5.5 to 6.5, whereas our blueberries are going to be a 4.5 to a 5.5. So let's get down here. That thou thousandth guy, I'm gonna just say the thousandth guy. Keyword is fresh. Jason Chupp says thank you. Mike's Chaotic Garden says LOL, fresh out the tap. Yeah, Mike, fresh out the tap. What's going on, Barbs? Thank you for coming in. So earlier you were going to get back to me after I answered if I was planting in ground or in a container. My blueberries are in 5-gallon fabric grow bags, just adding that in Chicago. Okay, grow bags. Grow bags require a lot more water, but yeah, the grow bags are going to do well for your blueberries. Y'all hit those reactions over there. Um, so yeah, they should do very well, Barb, in those grow bags. Let's see here. Blueberries are evergreen. They are still growing in the winter. Deciduous plants rest in the winter. Well, food by faith. That's kind of uh, that depends. If you look at your northern blueberries, your northern high bushes actually go dormant. They drop all their leaves in the wintertime. Your southern high bushes, on the other hand, will hold their leaves. Your rabbit eyes, they'll hold their leaves, but your Augustifoliums, which are your small wild blueberries, they'll drop their leaves. They go dormant. So yeah, they're evergreens, but yeah, they go dormant. They go dormant. So Sean the beekeeper says, can we use alfalfa pellets instead of cottonseed meal? Alfalfa pellets in the early part of the season, yeah. In the early part of the season, yes. Now the alfalfa pellets have less of a nitrogen, but here's the thing. It's kind of like finding that thing that works and then trying to change it simply because you don't want to use something else. And then when it don't work, then you'll come to me and you'll ask me, why is your plant not responding the way that you thought it would? So I'm always going to say the mix that I use has been proven. If you want to try anything outside of that, hey, I say go ahead and do it. But don't message me and ask me why your blueberry bush is not responding because you use something else. I'm just showing you what absolutely 100% emphatically works in my garden, and it's been working like this for every year for the past few years, the same mix. So I don't know if I'm trying to see. Y'all let me know how the lighting looks. Does that lighting look pretty good to you guys? I'm not sure how that lighting looks because like my hands are showing a lot of shadows down there. Let me know how that lighting looks. Um, Shaka Halls says my blueberry bushes have vines and I think it's dying. Maybe you meant veins and I think it's dying. What can I do? My first blueberry bush. I think you meant veins. I'm gonna just assume that you meant veins, and that's Shaka Hall. Sounds like chlorosis, which is where the green on the leaves, the veins are green, but the outside starts to turn yellow. That's chlorosis. What I would do in that case, take you some Epsom salt and mist it. Don't water hard, just mist it under the undersides of the leaves and then see how it responds to that. But chances are your soil pH is off. I can almost guarantee you if you check your soil pH is going to be off. You can you can do a little temporary prolonging the situation with the Epsom salt, but until you fix your soil, it's going to be a constant. You got to fix the soil. That's why I show you guys the way that I mix my blueberries. I show you guys the results. If you want those results, that's the simplest way to do it. If you want to deviate from those, that mix that I have, perfectly fine. I'm not saying that my mix is the best mix. I'm just saying this is the mix that I use and I get the same results every single year. I don't have chlorosis of the leaves. I don't have anthracnose. I don't have septoria. Um, I mean, you saw the bushes, there are no leaf spots. I do spray them with liquid whey on the undersides of the leaves. I do that every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how the ambient temperatures. We've been very uh, the temperature has been real crazy here lately and very humid. So if it's more humid, I may spray a little more often. But liquid whey is what I do on my foliar feeds. Um, was that Pamela Green says, do you always cover them? I cover my blueberries only when they have berries on them. And then soon as we harvest the berries, soon as the season is over, I take those nettings off. That's the only purpose of those nettings. And this going back to that spotted wing Drosophila. I got that down now. Spotted wing Drosophila. The spotted wing Drosophila also will attach itself to your blueberries. So this is another reason why I cover my blueberries. As soon as those blueberries begin to turn ripe, that spotted wing Drosophila is going to go. It's going to pierce into your blueberries, and then you're going to have worms in your blueberries. That's what happens to your blackberries. That's what happens to your raspberries. So if you're not harvesting those raspberries and those blackberries as soon as they turn ripe, you're going to get better chances of the spotted wing Drosophila. That's a fly that puts its larva into the berries as soon as they become ripe. So that's another reason why I cover my blueberries during the season. So the spotted wing Drosophila does not infect the berries. I can walk over to my bushes, pull the berries right off the bush and eat them because I don't have to worry about that. So that's another reason. G Mama Grows says, Barb, yes, there's a live stream you can replay. Yes, the live stream will come back on, the replay will come back on probably within an hour after the live ends. So on that note, we got 127 people in here. Boom, 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 boom. Y'all hit those reactions. Let's see if we can light this thing up. Our goal right now is to pass that 36,000 reactions. I think it was a pretty good live tonight. The thousand says D mentioned that blueberries rhizosphere on the surface and the roots stretch down, but not too much. Horizontal, not vertical. That's right. Uh, that, I'm going to just say that because I don't even know what the rest of that says. That is asking about the blueberry rhizospheres in, on the surface roots. Your blueberry bush, and that's the reason why all my corrugated planters, the tallest one is 17 inches tall. You can get away with a 12-inch tall because your blueberry bush roots are going to be mostly on the surface. That is the reason why you want that 2 to 3 inches of mulch on the top of that blueberry bush because you want to keep those roots as moist as possible without being waterlogged. But the end results is your blueberry bushes 9 times out of 10 are going to be in the top 6 inches of the soil. They like to spread out. That whole bed is spread out with roots, but if you were to dig it up, it would only go down maybe 12 inches at certain parts. So 12 inches is going to be on average where your blueberry bush goes down. 6 inches is going to be where the bulk of the roots are. Your feeder roots are going to be on the edges towards your drip line, but you don't need a really deep pot for blueberries. You need a wide pot. The wider your pot is, the better. If you're looking at, let's say, northern, southern high bush, where you're seeing the bush says 4 to 6 inches, 4 to 6 feet at full maturity, you want a pot at minimum of your minimum growth height at full maturity, which means 48 inches is going to be your minimum pot width. If that bush is going to be 48 inches to 60 inches at full maturity, you want the minimum at best, the minimum to be your pot size in order to get that growth that I'm getting. My bushes now are 5 to 6 feet tall. That's as big as I want them to get. So that container that I have them in is perfect for my growing space. I want to be able to walk between them, which gives them good airflow. When you prune, you don't have to worry about the bushes holding that moisture early in the morning. They dry out fast. And that is the biggest things when you start talking about septoria and anthracnose. When those bushes stay wet for long, you are asking for problems with fungal issues. That says, I gave up on political commentary. I'm now a gardener. I appreciate that because we don't talk politics here. Everybody here is on the same accord. We talk about growing plants. Thank you, sir. That those hello darling blueberries are those hello darlings are delicious. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Um, Sunshine blueberries are cool too. I got the sunshine as well. I like the sunshine because they don't grow as large. You can keep the sunshine blues into pots. They do very well in pots because they're a lot smaller. Um, Blessed blueberry bush is that tastes good to you. Yeah, it's all personal preference. You know, lights are popping. Uh, Joan McNair, appreciate it. Yeah, I love my little Tinkerbells. I just love these. They just add that nice little pop to the backdrop, and then the light has the little ambience down there in the back. So yeah, I'm really loving this Lights Out Live, man. You guys have made this thing what it is, and I appreciate y'all supporting it. He says, I want to get pink lemonade blueberries. We're sold out of the pink lemonade blueberries. We actually have some, but they're still growing because we did the propagation on the pink lemonades coming out of the spring, and we may have them back on the website uh, maybe before the frost comes in. So now is the time to get those blueberries in the ground. Fall, as we start approaching fall, that's the best time, in my opinion, to get those blueberries in the ground. Growing with Hudson, what's going on? She says, hey, growing out the box and chat. Sean the beekeeper says, how many bales of peat moss are in your beds? I am making some of them and I understand the percentage. Um, the easiest way I can say it, and that's the reason why if you look at any of the mixes, if you look at any of the mixes that I've ever done for my citrus, for my blackberries, for my blueberries, for my bananas, I'm going to always give you a percentage. I'm not going to get into how much because if I start getting into how much, everybody's going to start asking me how much to fill this container, how much to fill that container. If you do it in percentages, there is absolutely no way that you can go wrong. If you make a batch, let's say you do, let's say four, you want to use that same four premise, 25%. That's four. This it's just that simple. Whatever you use is going to be four equal parts. So if you use 4 5 gallon buckets, that means 25%, 25%, 50%. That means two of those buckets are going to be peat moss, and one of them is going to be pine bark nuggets, one of them going to be compost. That is going to be the entirety of your mix. Now, as you move from that gallon batch, you want to go up on your cottonseed meal. So every time you make a 4 gallon batch, you want to go up on your cottonseed meal. That is the simplest way to do it because, I mean, I just mix it up. Let's say, for example, I was doing that 4 gallon batch and I was going to put it into a pot. I would take that 4 gallon batch that we just made and just simply put it into a pot, put the blueberry in it. It's the same mix as my large ones. Why? Because the percentages don't change. If I start telling you about weights, it just doesn't make sense to even talk about the weights because if the percentage is the same, four parts, that's all you need. Four equal size cups, four equal size containers, one 25%, one 25%, two of them is going to be 50%. Four parts, that's all you need. Four parts. Do it in gallons. You do your mixes based on gallons, you're going to be spot on every single time. Let's see here. Zan says, I just wanted to say thank you. I follow you and your teachings and the plants for the blueberries and my fruit trees, and they are thriving. We, what do you think about planting strawberries under your blueberries? Nope, no. It's cute, and it probably would look very good, but your blueberry bushes are weak feeders. They are terrible feeders, and they won't survive without the Arachoid mycorrhiza. The Arachoid mycorrhiza are the basically extensions of the roots, and this is why it's so important to have that pH correct because Ericoid mycorrhiza will not survive in a high pH. They just will not survive, which means that you're giving your blueberry less opportunity to pull up that magnesium and iron, which 9 times out of 10 is the reason why you're going to get chlorosis. That Ericoid mycorrhiza is the lifeline for your blueberry bush. And if you put strawberries, which are heavy feeders, in with a weak feeder, the strawberries are going to dominate that bed and your blueberry bushes are going to suffer. There's no, I mean, yeah, I would imagine it probably would look cute, but your strawberries need lots of sunlight, first of all. And if you put them as an undercarriage with your blueberries, they're not going to get the sunlight. That's the way you get those berries to swell up. They got to get that sunlight. The same thing with your blueberries. You want to prune that blueberry bush because if that sunlight is not hitting those berries, you're not going to get the size of the berries that you want, and you're not going to get the sweetness of the berry. The sweetness comes from the soil and the sun, up and bottom, top and bottom. The soil and the sun is where you get the nutrients to feed those berries, and that's where that flavor comes from. Even with my tomatoes, right, my black cherry tomatoes, the common question that I get is, what do they taste like? And I'm like, it really doesn't matter what it tastes like because my tomatoes are going to taste different than your tomatoes. You're going to have a general, you know, palette of what it tastes like, but your flavor of your fruits that's grown in your garden is dictated by your soil. The variety has certain characteristics, but the flavor is dictated by your soil. If you're pumping it with synthetics, you're probably going to have no flavor. The same tomato, it's going to have no flavor. Same blueberries, going to have no flavor. So when I hear people say blueberries don't have flavor, that's probably because your soil is not efficient. But if you give your blueberries all the things that they need in order to survive, that's the mix that I'm showing you, the equal parts of those amendments that we just put in there, and then once a month with that Epsom salt mix into the soil, you're going to have sweet berries. They're going to be plump berries. They're going to be less disease prone plants, and they're going to thrive for you. They're going to be able to survive. Like you're looking at those blueberry bushes right now, and today I want to say it was 97, 98 degrees with a heat index of 104, 105. That is that moisture. And you seen me brush that back before I even watered, and you saw the moisture still settled in that container. That's that 2 to 3 inches of mini pine bark nuggets on the top that you have to have on those blueberry roots because they are all on the top of that surface. When they start drying out, the bush is going to get affected from that. So let's see. Amber says, G Mama, thanks for the info. This is my first year growing. I was watching and learning from you and growing out the box. Yes, G Mama be doing her thing with that patio gardening. So if you guys are not following G Mama, you want to definitely check G Mama out. Um, you can leave the blueberry bushes outside in zone 7 and track your pH with the pH meter in the pen. That's G Mama is talking to Jason. That's absolutely correct. Your blueberry bushes have to go through vernalization. They have to go through vernalization. Without that cold, they will not form the berries that you want. It has to have that vernalization, and that is to get those flowers to form. Because as you would see on my blueberry bushes right now, my buds are already starting to form. Those are going to be my berries for next year. The buds that are forming right now, that fertilization, that blueberry bush charge that we just did, that is to encourage the, the, the berries to form this year for next year's fruit. So yes, those berries have to go through vernalization. Do not take your blueberry bushes inside and protect them. The blueberry bush itself is cold hardy down to negative 30 degrees. They can survive. The difference is if you go through a warm up spell, which happens to, I mean, it really did damage to mine this season, is if you go through a warm up spell in spring, the blueberry bush starts to warm up and it'll break bud. That is when you're going to have your problems. That's when you want to go into mitigation. That's when you want to go into putting your blankets on, because once those berries get down to that 25 degrees mark, you're going to start losing your flowers. Once you get down to that 20 degrees mark, you're going to start losing your berries. And there's not a whole lot that you can do beyond that. The bush itself is going to be fine. You just won't get berries that year. Same thing with all my plums. We had that warm up. Every bush out here just had flowers everywhere on it. I got not one plum this year because we went back down to 22 degrees after all of that happened. It just destroyed all the buds on the plant. So some things we just don't have control over. But because I succession plant, I have early, mid, and late everything that I grow. Early, mid, and late plums, early, mid, and late blueberries. That is how I succession plant. I do early, mid, and late. So if we get a late frost, we're still gonna get blueberries. That's why you saw me get blueberries off of my Northland this year, but my Hello Darlings didn't produce blueberries. So this is a way to mitigate damages when you start talking about growing your blueberries. You get you an early season, a mid season, and a late season. If you have a good year, you're gonna have blueberries all year. That was the year before last. The year before last, I wanna say, oh man, I got blueberries still in the freezer, in my deep freezer from last year's harvest. So that's why this year didn't really do as much damage to me. I had blueberries that's still in my deep freezer from last year's harvest because we had so much. The season had all of my blueberries producing max. And I want to say one of my bushes, on average, I got about 17 pounds per bush on average. 17 pounds of blueberries per bush. That's what the average was last year. Mary McGillis says, question, last year I covered my blueberry bushes with frost covers, then the snow came. Was that the right thing to do? Planning to do things again this winter. What I like to do with my blueberries, I do a frost cover, and then you want to put a little space in between them, and then you'll have another cover on top of that. That depends on how cold it gets. The biggest thing with the blueberries in frost, and the reason why you have the most damage when you put the blankets on, and you want to wet that soil. Believe it or not, wetting the soil before the frost is the best thing that you can do for your blueberry bush, because what happens is that soil holds that warmth, and then that warmth kind of creates a little humidity inside of the blueberry bush bed, and it keeps it from dry freezing. What I did last year, I was out here putting my covers on, and it started raining. And because it started raining, I did not water my soil. It just completely slipped my mind. Then when I came back and took the covers off of a couple of my bushes, the ones that, of course, the rain didn't get saturated into the soil, a lot of my berries were freeze dried. So make sure that when you come up on that winter frost and you got berries and you're trying to protect those berries, make sure that you soak that soil before that freeze comes in. You would think that it's going to freeze the soil, but no, that is actually, if you're going to trap that ambient temperature inside of that netting that you're going to put on, or that frost blanket, that's going to benefit that plant. Believe it or not. Yes, yes, it is. Um, G Mama says she uses burlap around her pots to help. Yep, yep. Any type of insulation around those roots. What's going on? Angela Calloway. She says, I remember how productive your blueberry bushes were last year. Yeah, my blueberry bushes last year were, woo. I mean, I was getting bowls, literally bowls of blueberries off of everyone. And I, like I said, on average, about 17 pounds per bush when you average it all out. This year, my Northland did well, and some of the Hello Darling did okay. Hello Darling is an early bloomer, so I didn't expect the Hello Darling to do that well. The Sweetheart and the Northland, they did the best. And all of my ones in pots, every blueberry in pots did well. And that's because I did the frost blanket on the top of them, and then I put a little gap in it. I put those cinder block mesh hoops over it, and then I put plastic over that. So you had plastic to keep the humidity out, and then you had the frost blanket to give double protection. And every blueberry bush in a pot did extremely well. I didn't have any damage in my pots, but I did suffer this year on my big blueberry bushes, and that was because I did not wet the soil. That is my fault. I have to take the advantage, I have to take the credit for that. Uh, Gumby says, I think something ate my berries. Yeah, a whole lot will eat your berries. The birds, for one. If you do not cover them up, the birds will literally walk off with the whole plant. Yes, they will. And that is one of the reasons also that I cover. Now, remember the spotted wing Drosophila. This is not just the reason why I cover my blueberries. I don't cover my blueberries just for the birds. I cover my blueberries because of the spotted wing Drosophila. The spotted wing Drosophila is a fly. It's like a, I don't know if it's called a fruit fly, but it's a fly that infects the berries, blackberries, raspberries, uh, blueberries. Soon as they become ripe, that spotted ring Drosophila goes over, and you've heard what people think is a myth about worms being in your blueberries, your blackberries, and your raspberries. That is not a myth. That is a for real thing, and it will happen when you are not harvesting on time. If you are leaving those blackberries and raspberries on your bush, if you're leaving those blueberries on your bush, bust one open, I could tell you, and you're going to probably have worms in there. Yes, indeed. Spotted wing Drosophila. That is that fly. Um, Miss Yvonne, she says, my grandmother used to you put Christmas lights to uncover the stakes around the perimeter to keep some sort of humbled. It was fun for us growing up. Yeah, that little heat from those incandescent light bulbs definitely makes a difference. Uh, Tyra Chapman says, howdy from Texas. Happy to see you. Thank you, Tyra, for coming in. I appreciate you. KT Barber says, okay, thank you at G Mama. Um, KT Barber says, so cypress mulch, bad for the top dressing of blueberries. I do not use cypress mulch on my blueberries. No, cypress mulch is lignin. I'm sorry, cypress mulch is cellulose. I use cypress mulch on every other bed in my garden. Cypress mulch encourages saprophytic fungi. Blueberries like Aerocord mycorrhiza fungi. There's two different type of fungi that you're trying to attract. With your fruit trees, you want the cellulose type uh, wood chips, things like that. And the reason why is because of the saprophytic fungi. They break down those wood chips. With the mini pine bark nuggets, you're going to use mini pine bark nuggets as your mulch. And the reason for that is because of your ericoid mycorrhiza. That's what dominates the soil for your blueberries. So it's two different fungi that breaks down that mix. In the mix that we just made, that's going to be ericoid mycorrhiza that breaks that down. And that low pH is what that ericoid mycorrhiza needs. Your blueberry bush cannot survive and be productive without ericoid mycorrhiza. That is what extends the roots and goes down into the subsoil and brings those nutrients back to your blueberry bush. So that low acidity is what you need for that ericoid mycorrhiza to survive. For our fruit trees, I put cypress mulch around all of my fruit trees. That is to encourage saprophytic fungi. That's totally different than our ericoid mycorrhiza fungi. So Ariello Turner says, don't think it has any nutrients. I think I missed something in there. Some of y'all should learn to use AI. Still watch these videos, but these creators can't get all the questions. It'll make you happy. Yeah, but that's not reason why people don't come to the live so they can go Google or go to AI. They come to the lives just to have the conversation and to chat and to have someone talk to them in real life about, the things that are going on in their garden. So, I encourage, that's the whole purpose of the lives is for us to come on and to talk about the things that are going on in the garden. Yeah, you can Google anything that I'm saying. You can AI anything that I'm saying, but it's nothing like having a conversation with a person, somebody who's going to speak back to you. And that's what this channel is built on. This channel is built on the relationships that we all establish with one another. And that's why we call ourselves neighbors. I don't call you followers. I don't call you subscribers. I say that we're neighbors. So we're just having a conversation about what we do in our garden. And I just don't think AI can fulfill that. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think AI can fulfill this. Yeah. Live is our tribe. GA Trucker, that's what I'm talking about. Live is our tribe. That's right. Loving the live in person. Hinton. That's right. And see, there it goes again. It's like, yeah, anybody can Google anything that I'm saying. You can do an AI and follow up on anything that I'm saying. And I would encourage you to follow up, do your own research. But there's just nothing like having human interaction. That's the whole purpose. It's only 122 people right here in the live, and I think at best it might have been 130 people. I can simply just go do a video and get a couple of thousand views out of a video rather than coming to sit here to do a live only to get 120 something people to sit in and chat with. So that's the trade-off that you get. You know what I mean? It's like nothing can replace the few people that come in and I think are some of, my best neighbors who come in, GA Trucker Cat, G Mama, the Analytic Gardener, Mike's Chaotic Gardening. Uh, Nikki, I know, is on her live tonight. So uh, just getting to know you guys personally, you know what I mean? There's just nothing like that. Angela Calloway, you know what I mean? Bill Bill Wolf. And again, Bill Wolf says he just took the words, there is no substitute for real life. That's the whole point of this Lights Out Live. It is to connect with the people, those who just still want to have those conversations. If it's somebody in the room that would rather Google it, hey, put those fingers to work. I support that. I use AI, I use Google, I read, I research, and I try to bring that information to the community so we can share it together and we can all grow together. That's what this whole thing is about. If it were about the numbers, 120 people, that really don't move the metrics. It's about the quality, not the quantity. It's about the quality. Um, KT Barber says, uh, Emerald doesn't need pollinators either. Uh, no, the only blueberry bush that requires a pollinator are going to be your rabbit eyes. They require a pollinator. Your southern high bushes don't require a pollinator. Your northern high bush don't require a pollinator. Your low bush doesn't require pollinators. Your half highs does not require pollinators. But here is the caveat. You're going to get better quality berries. You're going to get larger berries. You're going to get more flavorful berries with cross pollination. I've showed that with my berries. People will say, well, wow, how are you getting those berries that size? That's because I match all of my berries with other berries that bloom around the same time, berries of different varieties. So with my pink lemonade, I got the Bless Your Heart. With the Northland, I got the Sweetheart. With the Misty, I have the sunshine blue with the Georgia gem. I have the, what is it that goes with the Georgia gem? Can't call it right now, but anytime you companion, and I call it companions, when you put those together, two different varieties that bloom at the same time, you're gonna get better berries. Simple as put, no question about it. Yeah. That says I want an emotion that has missing teeth. He says he wants an emotion that has missing teeth. Okay, well, mine might not be straight, but I got all of mine. So, hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Miss Yvonne says there's one thing to gain information, but there's another thing to do the work and be engaged while you are learning. That is where true learning begins. You have uh, you have to actually do the work to understand it. That's you be doing too much, Yvonne. Miss Yvonne, you be doing too much. And you are absolutely correct. That is the beautiful part about, like I said, it would be a lot easier for me to just do the video, post the video, get the views, collect the money from YouTube, keep it moving, never sit down and have these conversations. But I don't know. I just feel like as part of my growth, you know what I mean, as part of me growing, and not necessarily the plants, but me growing as an individual, being able to have these conversations and being able to talk live and be able to memory recall, bring these things up that I've been studying, that I've been applying in the garden, and being able to say it to someone in real time. That to me, that's part of my growth process. You know what I mean? So the lives are helping me just as much as I hope it's helping you guys. So yeah, I learn from the lives because it's like a walking test for me. You know, when you ask the questions, am I able to remember Ericoa and mycorrhiza? What are the Ericoa and mycorrhiza? Okay, what are the pHs that this particular plant needs? Why am I using cypress mulch on my fruit trees and not cypress mulch on my blueberry trees? Okay, why are my blueberry bushes using mini pine bark nuggets instead of regular pine bark nuggets? All of those things have to do with lignins, cellulose, different bacteria, different fungi, different ways that the plant breaks it down, how one fungi passes it off to the bacteria goes down, they break it down, the arthropods, how they break it down, feed it to the microbes break it down, and then they feed it to the plant. That whole cycle is like, I don't know, like I said, for me, this is a challenge to myself, learning how to do lives because I've only been doing the lives for a year and I think they're getting better. That's just my personal, you know, my personal take on it. And I want to be able to do this for the community. You know what I mean? I enjoy just talking with you guys. GA Trucker Cat says, you're leaving your you're leaving your mark and as we all should strive to do same. That's why we love that you are doing too much. That's right. You know what I mean? Again, it's a this is a personal this is a personal growth thing for me to be able to sit in front of this camera, to read chat, and then to answer those questions in real time. That's a personal growth thing for me. I can get out here and don't have to talk to nobody, which is what I enjoy when I'm out here in the garden. When I'm out here in the garden, I don't have to talk to nobody. I just come out here and I go to doing. If I could record everything that I do in the garden every day, my normal routine, I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. As the sun comes out, I'm out here in the garden. Even on the days that I have to work, I'm out here in the garden. If there's some new seedlings that need to be watered, I take that ascorbic acid, blend it into my water. I hand water my plants. I watch the plants. I walk around. I see if any insects are attacking any of the plants. I observe what's going on with the plants. If there's something going on, if we're going to have a hot day, I'm going to give everything a good drench of water before I leave out for the day. This this is it's a lifestyle for me. This now is a lifestyle. I really enjoy this part of life. You know what I mean? To where you just, like I said, I used to do car shows, and every weekend we're out and moving about. Now it's like my excitement is waking up and getting out here to my garden. I love coming out here, and like my guys today, I just had Connor out here and his crew come out and they trim the whole garden up for me. Delegating now. So as I'm growing, the garden is growing. Now that's somebody that I just added into the equation. That's a paycheck for somebody. That this garden is actually created. That's a job to somebody. Now I have a crew that comes in and they clean this up for me. I used to have to come out here, wake up early in the morning, take my push mower, my weed eater, do all of this, and then get to the videos. Now all I got to do is come out here and just record. I don't have to worry about trimming the garden up. I don't have to worry about weed eating. I got a crew that comes out and does that now. Because of how successful the channel has been, because you guys support me, that allows me to put more energy into what I'm doing out here. Not only that, that's a job again. This thing is taking on a whole life of its own. That's a job that somebody now has. Now, even with my website, growingoutthebox.com, I'm getting to a point now to where I'm going to start have to hiring people to start packaging. So this is turning into something, I mean, if I could say, just almost like a dream come true. You know what I mean? This, and really it's things that I never even dreamed of is happening right now. All because of just sitting here posting videos on YouTube and having these type conversations from people like Angela Calloway, who's in the chat. Angela Calloway, I know, has got to be one of my best supporters. So what I did was, because she comes in all the time, I made her into a moderator. Now a lot of the things that she was going over to the store and purchasing, I'm going to gift them to her. Mike's Chaotic Gardening, G Mama, they got bananas that come off of my website. They didn't pay for those. They come in, they support the channel, they come in, they add their, whatever value they bring to the chat, and I show appreciation by gifting them things, raised beds, planters, um, all of this. It's morphing into something that's, I mean, it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. It really is beautiful, and I am so blessed to just have this to be able to share with you guys. Really, it really is a blessing. Yeah. I see my guy David Corey with the crops in here. Yep. David Corey says you put in the work. That's right, sir. And I just appreciate all you guys. Mike says he has 5 leaves already on his banana. That's what's up. And you know what I want to do, Mike? Like I said, I want to start, like I said, that It's Bananas challenge. Everybody who's got a banana from us, we'll come in and we'll start comparing notes. And my little banana, I had it shipped out and then brought back in so I can see what it looked like when it arrives. They come in and they look a little shriveled down, but you give them a week, 2 weeks, those things perk up and they're like they never have been sent off in that shipping container. So yeah, Dave, that's the beautiful part about it, man. We got to come in and we got to put in the work, and then as we put that work in, we got to share it. And that's what this whole thing has been about for me. I got my own gear. So I used to have my Adidas on all the time. You used to always see me with an Adidas or a Nike hat. I got my own gear now. So if you go back and you probably look at the last, I don't know, maybe year or so, all you see is me rocking my own gear. This is this is mine. You be doing too much. This belongs to me. This is mine. Growing out the box, this little thing here, that's mine. I mean, it's just so much more to it than just the garden. You know what I mean? G.A. Trucker Cat says, blessings for sure. I love my garden. That's right. The garden is just, it's a life within itself. I mean, it really is. And then it's just as you start learning, like I said, this Korean natural farming, I have to call it for what it is because that's really what everybody calls it. But as you start learning how to do your FPJs, creating your fulvic acids, learning how to feed your plant with plants that you are growing in your garden, and you're reducing your outside inputs, and then you see your garden doing better than it's ever done before, we own to something. And this entire year has all been about closing the loop. I've been sharing with you guys this entire year, not look at my garden. I don't really care for those type of videos. I really very rarely have videos where you see me saying, look at my garden, look at how much I harvested, look at what I did here, look at what everything that I'm doing in this garden is about me growing and learning how to grow the best that I can grow so that I can share it. That's it, so that I can share it. If you see me showing a plant, I'm showing you the plant so that you can see the results of what I'm doing when I'm growing so you can do the same thing. So if I'm telling you I'm using my comfrey to make these FPJs, and that comfrey made this plant this color, that comfrey caused that plant to grow flowers, that comfrey caused the fruit to be sweeter when we testing our bricks, because we're backing this up. These are not opinions that we're having here. We're using refractometers to test the bricks on our plants. So I can take a leaf, crush that leaf, squeeze the juice out of that leaf, put it on my refractometer. That refractometer is going to tell me how the carbohydrates, how the sugars, how the bricks are in that particular plant. That's the health of your plant. The healthier your plant is, the less pest pressure you're going to have, the better quality of fruit you're going to have, and the more healthier that plant's going to be. These are the things that I'm sharing with you guys as I grow. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. People say, well, I grow to feed my family. I grow to have cut my grocery bill. I grow to learn how to grow. That's the reason why I grow. Now, as a effect of me learning how to grow, I got a website now that can feed my family. I grow food in the garden that can feed my family. I share these things with you that you can feed your family with. Fish amino acid. Taking, just going down to the pond, throwing your reel and rod in in the pond, bringing those fishes in, and I showed you guys how to make fish amino acid better than the fish fertilizer that you buy out of the store. Closing the loop. As I learn, I grow, I share. That's the whole purpose of my whole thing. This is the reason why I come on here, to learn how to grow. Everything else is a benefit. If I can get fruit off of it, that's the plus to it. I come here to learn how to grow and share it. That's it. That's it. And it's just been one blessing after another. And I don't know too many places where you can dump all of that energy into yourself and give it away for it to come back. I'm a living testament to that. You can dump all of the energy. It's almost like you can be selfish. This is the one way you can be selfish. I want to gather as much information about what it is that I'm doing as I possibly can because I want to personally grow, but then I share it. You can't get much better than that. It just can't. That says, do you remember Veggie Tales? Yeah, what's going on, Veggie Farming? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you coming in. Uh, let's see here what Angela Calloway is saying. That's awesome. I follow his advice on my blueberries, and my blueberries are doing great. That's Angela Calloway saying that. The analytic gardener. Analytic gardener, now I thought we got you highlighted as a moderator last week. Own label, entrepreneur masterclass. That's right, analytic gardener, entrepreneur masterclass. And what I want to do in this, like, one thing I've always said, when I came into this whole thing, there are a few gardeners that I kind of like was following, and I really had, a little idea of some things that I can help those gardeners do. And I went to a certain few gardeners and I said, hey, I can help you do this or blase, blase. And nobody was interested. So what do? I just came in and I started doing it myself. And the results of that is um, my website is pretty successful, pretty successful. And what I wanted to do was create tangibles. So even when the videos stop, even when the videos stop, I want to have a system put in place that can carry me outside of the garden community. That's what I'm building right now. And again, having now a lawn crew to come in to take care of the garden for me. They come in every 7 to 10 days. A yard crew. I got a yard crew now that comes in and does the garden for me. That's something that I was trying to do all the time, but then I would find myself not having enough time to actually record videos because I'm out here trying to keep the garden up. So what my job is now is simply to delegate. And I put other people in position to make money off of these videos that we are sharing for free. It just can't get much better than that. I mean, that's just blessings on top of blessings. Sean, the beekeeper, says, all that you teach has been working for me so far. And that's the beautiful part about the whole thing. It's all about growing, and it's for you to share it with somebody else. That's the only thing I ask for. I don't ask anybody to buy anything from me, so to speak. If it's something that I'm doing in the garden and you like it, I'll have it for sale in my shop. That's it. I have it for sale in my shop. If you ask me about it, I'll tell you about it. But I'm not on here doing sales pitches about, ooh, go to my shop and trying to sell you this and sell you that. A lot of people don't even know I have a shop until it's something that you ask me for. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's in my shop. I don't do affiliate marketing. I don't do affiliate marketing for a reason, because I have a shop. It's just that simple. You know what I mean? I'm building on top of something here. Mike's Chaotic Gardening says, hello neighbors, please visit growingoutthebox.com after the live. Bingo. After the live. Do not click out of this live, because if you click out of this live, it will stop getting shared. That's something that we all have to remember now. Every website right now, every social media platform has a no exit policy. So when you put a link in the chat and you exit from that link and leave, that dings the video. So that's why we have to be strategic in the way that we're moving. I can say this: if there's something in the live that I have and you want to know how to get it, just go to my website. I don't have to put the links and all that. In our community who supports me, I support you. All you have to do is go to my website. Whatever you're looking for probably is going to be there if I'm using it in my garden. That's community. We have to create a network to where we just understand the conversation. We have to understand the language, and we have to sometimes speak in code because there are a lot of things that's working against us. Right now, you have these platforms now. If you have it on there now, it's like YouTube shopping. If you look at YouTube shopping, every product that I put up in this video, YouTube shopping is going to pop up now and show you that video and give you the opportunity to go purchase it from somewhere else. But if you want to support me, you can do the same thing, but we have to understand the language. That's all it is. We have to understand the language. I shouldn't have to say, go to such and such and such a because this is there, because that's going to ding me. We got to play within the system. That's all. We got to play within the system. I ain't going to complain about it because everybody's trying to make some money out of this thing. They figured out that we as content creators move product. So now instead of you putting your Amazon links up in here, that's no longer going to work. You now have to go through YouTube shopping in order to get your product in this platform. I'm not mad. I am not mad. Makes perfect sense to me. And this is another way that the platform generates income, and this is how they share that income with us. This is their platform. We are simply providing a service to you via their platform. Now we got some things that we're working on because we're gonna fix that too. We're gonna fix that too. And you just have to understand the conversation to know where that's going. So, Keith, thank you for keeping it real. A. Hinton, yes, sir. I mean, I'm trying to grow. That's it. That's the beautiful part about this whole thing. I am simply trying to grow. And with me trying to grow, I share it. That's all. It's that's the blessing. The blessing is being able to share it. What's the point of trying to get all of this stuff? Somebody asked me the other day, I had a meeting with somebody who's going to be coming in and helping me out with the channel, really doing some major stuff. And the person asked me like, how can I buy some of that, those FPJs that you're making? This is somebody who's coming in to help me. They asked, how can I buy some of the? I said, why you want to buy it when I'm showing you how to make it for free? Uh, hey, go figure. Veggie Farming says, is your site set up to link through YouTube Shopping? Nope, and I don't want it to be set up that way. Yep. Here's the thing, Veggie Farming. We got to start thinking strategically. And some things I can't say, because, everything that we say on here is actually a transcript now, and it gets logged in, and the algorithm responds to it accordingly. So we have to start thinking strategically. And this is outside of the garden right now that I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of just the way life is starting to transform itself with the way the system is working to where you cannot function without the system. That is what's being designed right now. You will not be able to function without the system. So we have what's called, uh, we've seen it in movies where you have these secret societies to where there's certain places that you can go and these meetings are going on and the powers to be don't know these things exist. That's what I want to be. I don't want to be a part of the system because what happens when they turn the lights off? If they turn the lights off, then your lights go out too. You got to get off the grid. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build off the grid. So, not just having a website, I want my own server. I want my own data system. I don't even know if y'all even really following me on this. These are the things that I'm working on in the background. We're trying to build a system outside of the system. That's about as simple as it can get. Because at some point in time where we're making it so convenient, because really think about this. I want you to really think about the YouTube shopping. YouTube shopping just hit a major dent into Amazon. I don't know if you guys are really following how this thing works, but you remember like every time we did something on here and we had some product that we showed in the background, the thing was, okay, you can go to this link and you can purchase this. That's no longer the case. If you click on that link and you leave the platform, you're going to get a ding for it. Your video is not going to get shared. So, how do you figure out a way to do the same without doing the same? You got to conform. You got to start thinking outside the box, growing outside the box, which means doing too much. You got to figure out a way to move people in places where you need them to be. And we got to be able to understand the conversation that follows. I shouldn't have to tell you certain things because what's that old cliche? Things understood don't need to be explained. So everything that I have on my website now, guess who also has it? The platform. The very platform that I'm speaking to you on right now has everything that I'm talking about that's on my website. So what does that do? That cuts directly into my profit because I got to play within the system. So this is I mean, it's happening right now. It's not about to happen. It's already happening. And there's competition going on around us, and they're competing for us. That's what's happening. They're competing for us. So now what YouTube has done with YouTube shopping, and it's brilliant. It makes perfect sense. That's why I'm conforming to the system because it makes perfect sense for YouTube to set up a whole shopping network within the system instead of letting you go over to Amazon and purchase. These are competitions right now. Amazon and Google, which is YouTube, are not the same. So, what YouTube has been doing is giving us the platform to come on here and talk about what it is that we're doing. And then we're sending links over to Amazon for them to get rich. That's no longer the case. It's right here in house, everything right here. If you exit the platform, your video is going to get a ding for it. It makes sense to me. I hear a lot of people complaining about these changes. And if you are into e commerce and you understand business, it makes perfect sense. What we have to do as individuals who are entrepreneurs and trying to establish ourselves in that community. I was talking to a computer geek the other day, and they were saying they sat in on one of the Google classes, which is teaching you about the YouTube shopping and all of these things. These are people who are sitting down and being educated on how the platform is going to be moving forward. And the person says, yeah, now people like us, this is what the person said to me, people like us have to go to Etsy and sign up. And Etsy now is a link for YouTube shopping. I don't know if you've noticed that. You see a lot of Etsy now in the links for YouTube shopping. That's because YouTube has partnered with Etsy. And now Etsy is getting that the Amazon business. It's hey, this is dog eat dog. That's what's happening right now. They're jockeying for our business, and it is not kind. So, veggie farming at KT, thank you. KT, welcome home. Uh, Mocha's Sweet says dollars and cents. That's right. David Core with the crops make a lot of sense. I mean, it just it goes all the way back to when I came onto the platform. I already understood what it was I wanted to do when I came onto the platform. A lot of people, this is where the whole, this, I'm telling you, man, David Corey, you've been here for the longest. Angela Calloway, you've been here for the longest. G Mama, Veggie Farming, all y'all been here. Y'all remember when people used to say to me, growing out the box, you be doing too much. That's where this came from. Growing out the box, you be doing too much. That's when I was bringing in the organic fertilizer bags and I was showing everybody the organic fertilizers that I was using. And then you'll have 4 or 5 people say, man, you don't have to do that. Just dig a hole and stick the plant in the ground. Okay, well, here's the thing. If you go back now, those videos where I had that product in it, those videos are now making money. Why? Because the product is in it. These are things that I already saw happening and anticipated. These websites, all of these things are going to become like TikTok. You got TikTok Shop. You're not finna go on TikTok and sell nothing if TikTok is not going to get a piece of it. Every platform is going to be like that. So, foreseeing the future and coming in and saying, this video that I'm creating, this is 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I was showing the product. Now that product is relevant. Those videos, because now I have a large following, those videos now you can point directly down to YouTube shopping, and then you can go and purchase that product straight out of YouTube now, and I get a percentage of it because I was forethinking the potential of where this platform could go. That's the whole beauty of what this thing is. That's what growing out the box doing too much is. You have to be thinking beyond that which the 4 squares that we're used to being in, that confinement. You have to be thinking outside the box, growing outside of your box. That's how you stay ahead. That's it. That's a metaphor for life. If you're walking and always looking at what's happening and you're basing your life based upon what is happening, you're going to be a step behind. You have to always be thinking about what's going to happen and you have to anticipate. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're going to be wrong. But when you land on the mark, when you land on the mark, and brother, I think I've landed on that mark. It's happening exactly how I thought it would happen, and the system is working exactly how I thought it would happen, and I am in position right now because I was doing too much. That's the blessing, man. So keep growing. Angela Calloway says, keep growing out the box. Um, let's see here. TikTok is a shopping site now. That's right. But who didn't see it coming? This is this is a competition for us, and it's a dependence. Now I know we're off the topic of the garden, but I'm letting you kind of I'm letting y'all tap into what I'm thinking about, what I do when I'm coming on to this platform or any other platform. When you think about I'm 500 and I'm oh man, I appreciate that. I can't even see who put that super chat in there. Miss 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 Jean Webb, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat, Miss Jean Webb. Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I'm giving you guys a glimpse into like how I think. Like I'm always thinking 4 steps, 5 steps. I'm a chess player. I love playing chess. I like reading the analytics. You know, when people say how did I know what was going on? How do I read what's happening? Why am I even doing these lives? I'm doing these lives because of the analytics are telling me this is what I need to do. I'm a member of the YouTube Partners Program. Not just a member, but I have a YouTube Partner Manager. Okay. Because I have my own website and I like to have people to go to my website and purchase, I haven't been signing the YouTube shopping agreement. Okay, so that's why you haven't been seeing the YouTube shopping little icons popping up on the bottom. So about a week ago, well, maybe about 2 weeks ago, I saw my videos that used to do this started doing this. It started flatlining. I had 3 videos that I thought was pretty good and by all metrics was telling me, oh, hold on now, is that the same super chat? Or did you hit me again? Come on now. I appreciate that. Oh man, I really do appreciate that. Okay, Miss Yvonne says this ain't off topics. It's the right target because it started with you doing too much, doing what you love. That's what works, and we all long to do. I have made doing what I do, doing what I love, my life work, and transitions natural. That's right, transitioning natural. I appreciate you, Miss Jen Webb. Yeah, and again, I try to stay away from these type conversations because the system is listening. We all know the system is listening, but in in conforming, understanding you don't you either gonna play with the system or you just not gonna play. It's just that simple. You're gonna play with the system or you're just not gonna play at all. So how do we find that medium in between? We give them what they want. They make money, we make money. But we also have to be understanding the language that we create within our own communities. This can't be us just coming on here to watch a video and then we disappear off into the night and we go off and do what it is that we do on our own. We have to start understanding what the conversation is about and how we're trying to, I'm not going to say deviate, But yeah, how we're trying to deviate to a safe space, so to speak. Like what I'm doing now, veggie farming has beautiful self-watering, has her whole little garden set up on the watering system. Well, the reason why I am hand watering now because I'm in the process of building an entire water system that's off grid. It won't even require me to tap into my water. It'll be solar powered. I already have the pumps, solar powered, triggered with timers. Each bed has its own zones. Everything in this garden area will be able to function without tapping into anything. So if the water goes off, the water gets contaminated, as long as there's rainwater and I can collect it, the garden's going to get water. And even if not, by me learning how to use the ascorbic acid, the rugosa rose, I'm growing the rugosa rose because of the rose hips. The rose hips has what? Vitamin C powder. So every time we discover something that we have to go to the store and purchase, we have to start thinking about how can I create this within my system? What can I use in order to offset what it is that I had to go outside the system to purchase? That's what this AI and all of this stuff is doing for us. You can sit down and you can put your face in the sand and try to hide from it and act like it is not going to have an effect on your life, but it absolutely is, and it is right now happening. So what I'm doing now is everything that I'm using in the garden, every one of those bags that I was putting up into the camera and saying, growing out the box, you're doing too much. You don't have to use all that. I'm reading the bags. I'm trying to figure out what parts of this organic fertilizers, how can I find that around my garden? What are the plants that can give me the same benefits that that bag organic fertilizer does? And doing that research, comfrey, stinging nettle, alfalfa, uh, Mexican sunflower, peanuts, uh, sweet potato leaves, sweet potato leaves. Let me say that again. Sweet potato leaves, the tips, the oxins, the gibberellins, the cytokinins, all of those things that just tie them back into each other. We can close the loop. There's so much information available to us right now that we have to be prepared to close the loop. We have to be prepared to break away when it's time. We have to be prepared to break away when it's time. In the meantime, we have to conform to the system. But we have to be preparing ourselves for when the system locks down. If they turn the lights off, how will we turn the lights back on? How do we move seamlessly through the system without an interruption if the lights go out? Those are the things that we have to start thinking about. That is what I have been preparing for. 2020, if it did nothing for me, it set me on the path to say, that won't happen to me again. That won't happen to me again. That's what I'm in pursuit of, how to close the loop and become self sufficient. Learning how to grow is the first step. How much I can grow, that's the easy part. Learning how to grow, that's the first step. That's my goal right now. I want to learn how to grow. Everything in this garden, I want to learn how to grow it. Once I know how to grow it, I can put as many plants out as I possibly can. The grocery store is open. But if you don't know how to feed yourself, if you don't know how to create your own fertilizers, if you don't know how to go fishing and to create those things, the nutrients that's going to make your plants as healthy as possible, if you don't know the type of food that you need to be putting into your body, if the system goes down, to keep yourself hydrated, to keep yourself nourished, the type of nutrients that you need to be taking in every day, then you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to learn as much as I can and to share it. That's all it is. Back to the basics. My vlog therapy says back to the basics, self sufficiency. That's right. That's right. H. Hinton says, was my wake up call to starting growing something. 20, 2020. That was it for me. 2020 was was when I got a taste of the garden. I got sick, and as I started recovering, getting a little better, started trying to grow things. 2020 was the start of it. 2021, I came into the YouTube sphere and started watching the little videos, following different gardeners. 2021, by the end of 2021, I was like, I want to do this. This is something that I want to do. I saw myself getting better and better, healthier and healthier from what I was going through, what happened to me in 2020, because it took me a minute to get over that. I was on albuterol, Symbicort, Montelukast, every type of asthma medication you want to think of, I was on it. And the doctors kept telling me that was going to be me for the rest of my life. That was a that was a non-starter there. That was a non-starter. What do I have to do to not let that be my life? It was in this garden. What do I have to do to not be on medication for the rest of my life? That was the turning point that says you got to do something different, bro, and you got to do something to the point to where it can't be an option. This has got to be what you do to get yourself off of that pump. Every 4 hours, I had to hit that pump just to walk back here to the garden. When we first started this garden, I couldn't even walk back here to the garden for hitting that pump before I got back here. And the more that I used it, the more I needed it, to a point to where I started pushing myself. Only on the extremes, when I really went through it, I would really feel to the point to where I was about to pass out, where I couldn't catch my breath. And then I started training myself how to do without that pump. Started eating the things out of the garden, started eating better. We already didn't eat pork. We already don't eat beef. So just treating your body better and helping build that resilience. And it's the same principle when you think about your garden. If you're feeding your soil, your plants are going to be healthier. Your plants are going to give you better fruit. And if you're eating that, you're going to be healthier. It just all makes sense. That's all. It just all makes sense. Um, David Corey says 2018 he started, and you was on it before it all got there, David. So I can definitely say that you ahead of the game, bro, because it was 2020 that. Again, I can't even say 2020 was the starting point. It really was more like a 2021. 2021, the end of 2021, when I said I wanted to do this. And then now it's a part of my lifestyle now. And I know you, even David Corey, I see you over there with your garden, with your chickens, and you doing your thing. Your whole backyard is turned into the garden. You got your big fig trees and all. Yeah, this becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a lifestyle, and this is what's important to me right now. And for other things that are around me, they're just irrelevant. A lot of things that a lot of people are into right now, they're just irrelevant. This is my lifestyle right now. This is what I want to do. Um, you in Washington says, gotta go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you for coming in. Antoinette Williams says 1 teaspoon per gallon, starting up as long as you 3 tablespoons make. Okay, I missed something. G Mama is answering somebody. Uh, Mike's Chaotic Garden says awesome testimony. Yeah, Veggie Farming says that is definitely a motivator. Yeah, it's I'm here for a purpose. You know what I mean? I'm really here for a purpose, and I don't try to do the political thing on here. I don't try to do the religious thing on here, but I do believe that I am walking in purpose. There's a reason all of this happened. There's a reason I got sick. Never been sick a day before in my life. There's a reason I got sick. There's a reason that things got my attention to the point to where it says you got to do something. When I got sick, one of the things that I noticed, nobody around me knew what to do. Nobody around me knew what to do. It was pretty much go to the doctor. They didn't want to have a whole lot to do with you. They was prescribing prescribing every single thing that they could think of because they didn't want to get too close to you. But at that point, you realize that you really are on your own. Anybody who got sick during that time, you realize that you are on your own. The doctors are going to bring you in, they're going to prescribe you everything that they could think of, and then you got to figure it out from there. And we just, that was a wake up call. That was a wake up call. In order for you to be able to battle your way through those case scenarios, you got to have your body at the top condition, and all that other stuff that we've been putting in, we got to cut that out. It's time for us to start focusing because it's just a whole lot going on right now that we ain't prepared for. This live is to promote educational conversations and not meant to be replaced by doing your own research. Absolutely, Mike's Chaotic Gardening. We want you guys to really, really go out and figure out what it is that you need to be doing to make your life better. So you're right. I'm glad you said that, Mike, because that's one of the things, because I get a lot of people always ask me, so what was it that you was doing that got you off the abuse? I don't really even talk about it. I don't really even talk about it because I don't want to be the one that's responsible for saying that my body works a different way than your body. There's certain things that my body is able to do that the average person body may not be able to do. I was already in fairly good shape before I got sick. Again, that was my first time ever getting sick. So my body responds different. Right now, I'll be 60 years old in a month or two. I'm on no medication, knock on wood, and I feel pretty darn good. I feel pretty darn good. Um, so on that note, we've been in here for a while, and I appreciate you guys. We have not dropped below 110, and we just hit 100 108. I said it just in time. So on that note, y'all light us up one more time with those reactions, and then we gonna get up on our Mary Grow with me. Thank you for coming in. I didn't see you earlier. Sean the beekeeper says, "Man, I forgot I can't buy blueberries from you." Oh yeah, Florida, California. Yeah, we can't send blueberries to. Yeah, we can't send blueberries to Florida. You're right. David Corey, color purple. I don't know what David Corey is talking about. Think of food and nutrition and preservatives of poor health and supportive of good health. Okay. So, on that note, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Y'all go back if you didn't watch the recharging of our blueberry bush soil. I'm going to take some clips out of that, and we're going to be uploading that as some long form content. But until the next time, I want to say thank y'all. Peace. Going out the box.